Last year in Montreal, Quebec native son Patrick Carpentier's will to win proved greater than his engine's will to work, bringing an emotional end to his homecoming.
But such an emotional weekend, man, I remember it like it was yesterday.
1 year later, all eyes are on his teammate Paul Tracy. Cart's reigning bad boy has dominated the first two legs of the Canadian trifecta and been crowned Maple Leaf royalty.
I'm the king of Canada. I'm 2 for 2. I'm looking for a clean sweep.
So who is the favorite here? Quebec-born Patrick Carpentier, Montreal native Alex Tagliani, Canadian homeboy Paul Tracy, or even French rookie Sébastien Bourdais. Depends on who's talking.
This is my house.
This is my house. Canada, it's my house. We're on my turf.
I won't be showing up in my house.
This is my house. You don't have to be Canadian to be the king of Montreal.
These are my people.
Canadians are race fans to their very core, fanatical about the cars, the drivers, and their event. Don't blink. Here, the race is a matter of attitude as much as horsepower.
The atmosphere in the stands is always quite impressive. It's going to be a big event.
People kept cheering and yelling and stuff. It was unbelievable. In Canada,
In Montreal,
it means more.
it means more. It means more here.
It means more.
Well, many may claim ownership, but only one man can be the king of Montreal. Welcome to round 14 of the Bridgestone Presents the Champ Car World Series powered by Ford. It's a beautiful day for the Molson Champ Car Grand Prix of Montreal. And it is a crowded house in many ways, packed grandstands and a very crowded starting grid. Just an eye blink, 35/100ths of a second covers, not separates, but covers the top 4 rows. It's the final puff for players in Canada, as perhaps Canada's biggest supporter of motor racing bids a reluctant farewell to its home fans this weekend. Paul Tracy, of course, native Canadian that he is going for the Grand Slam with his 3rd consecutive victory in Canada. And on the front row, we have 2 men who between them have never won a race, topped by our surprise pole sitter, Montreal native Alex Tagliani. There is Alex greeting his fans. Let's bring you up to date quickly on what's transpired thus far this weekend. Back on Friday, Woody Woodchuck headed for the hills, and the rest of the local wildlife was deserving of attention. Oriol Servia got together with second of the championship, Bruno Junqueira, on the next lap. His final lap in qualifying, he posted the fastest of the day, his first ever provisional pole. Then on Saturday, the Quebec flags were out in force. Paul Tracy is from Ontario, but he gave them a thrill before this spin down in the turn 1 and 2 complex. Later on, local favorite Patrick Carpentier, the overwhelming favorite for today's race, found the front stretch wall. He has not had a good weekend. But Alex Tagliani, also a local boy, brought that crowd to its feet in final qualifying and turned his hard-bitten car owner, Paul Gentilozzi, into a misty-eyed fan with pole for this all-important race. Here's a look at the top 8 starters. Tagliani and Servia, each looking for his first career win. Then second and third in the championship, Bruno Junqueira and Michel Jourdain Jr. on row 2. Patrick Carpentier and Sébastien Bourdais can talk French to one another on row 3. And on row 4, Jimmy Vasser, his 200th career start, starts next to Paul Tracy, going for that 3rd straight Canadian win, doing it from 8th on the grid. Let's meet our pole sitter with Derek Daly.
Alex Tagliani here just laces up his boots. It is a very highly charged situation here, Alex. I suppose it's fair to say this afternoon you represent yourself, your team, and your country, as you know.
Yes, it's there's a lot of pressure with the words that you have, but we're going to do what we can. The Johnson Control team did a fantastic job. You know, my guys work really hard all year long. The engineers, very smart people, they're learning, and for them to be on pole years, you know, like it's as much special for them than it's for me. So we'll try to finish the job today. We're going to push hard all day long, and we'll see where we end up at the end.
Tag, when you came down the front straight here, everybody stood and cheered as if you were their brother. It's just got to just make you feel so good.
Well, it's fantastic. I know they've been behind us. You can see them coming up in the stands and making so much noise, you know, even when you're on the track. So I was hoping that I could give them a good result yesterday, and we did it. So I'm sure they're very pleased, and they came here for a show. So hopefully we can finish the day and with a very good result.
Thank you, Tad. Good luck. Now, the man beside him on the front row is also celebrating his finest ever starting position. He's with our Calvin Fish. Calvin?
Indeed, Derek, for the first time since 2001, it's at Patrick Racing Machine on the front row, driven by Oriol Servia. And Oriol, the crowd are going bananas here. They're screaming for the Canadian boys. Can you spoil their party today?
Well, I'm sorry for them, but I'll try my best to do that. I mean, I think we have a great chance. The Visteon car has been working great since the first session. We've been P1. Last qualifying he got us, but the race is what counts. I'm really happy to be front row. I think the whole crew, the all people from the team deserves a great race, and I'm ready for it too.
Season is winding down. How much pressure on you to score your first Champ Car victory here today?
Well, I had the pressure since my first race in 2000. I wanted to do it, and we've been getting closer, knocking on that door, and hopefully it will open today.
Oriol, have a great day, mate.
Thank you.
All right, thanks very much, guys. We welcome you to our announced position high above the start-finish straightaway here in Montreal. Bob Varsha along with Tommy Kendall. TK, coming into the weekend, it was all about the players' teammates. Tracy and Carpentier going 1-2 in our most recent race at Mid-Ohio. But all of a sudden, Alex Tagliani just jumped up and stole the spotlight. That is a triumph for him in ways that a lot of people probably don't even know.
Well, it's hard to not be touched by that scene in the Rocket Sports pits after qualifying. But to say that it's charged because he's on the pole in his home Grand Prix is only half the story. Regardless of what he says in public, Alex Tagliani being dropped towards the end of last year by players to make room for Paul Tracy did not sit well with him. Even though he's ended up in a place that is probably better for him, that does not seem to have soothed those feelings at all, and that is fueling him this weekend. Now, as a little boy, I'm not sure even he could have dreamed of a weekend that's set up this way. But whenever you have something that could potentially be the best day of your life, the other side of that, it could potentially be the biggest disappointment. Needless to say, he will remember this day for a long time.
That he will, no matter what happens in the race. But I think it's difficult for us to overstate just how important these Canadian drivers are to their fans. Take this scene, for example, as Patrick Carpentier came from the team transporter to greet literally thousands of his fans seeking an autograph, a handshake, or just a smile from the man born and raised here in town. Not too many years ago, a bespectacled Patrick Carpentier won the Toyota Atlantic Championship race here in Montreal. And last year, when the Champ Cars came here for the first time, he had such high hopes, was in a podium position when the car let him down. Alex Tagliani, much a similar fate. Back in 1999, he won in an Atlantic car here on his home course. And then when the Champ Cars arrived, he was with the players team along with Carpentier, and he had this moment in qualifying. He finished 11th on the day. We have so much to tell you about as the seconds tick away from the command to start engines. Success here in Montreal is about hard work, luck, and faith. Speed Channel coverage of the Champ Car Grand Prix of Montreal is brought to you by Bridgestone Tires, advanced technology that gives you a grip on the future. And by Ford. If you haven't looked at Ford lately, look again. Welcome back to the circuit Gilles Villeneuve and the mighty St. Lawrence River across from downtown Montreal. Here's a look at some of Oriol Servia and Bruno Junqueira's closer moments this weekend after their collision in qualifying. Servia tried to explain. Junqueira just wasn't having any of it. At Mid-Ohio 2 weeks ago, of course, it was Servia who ushered then points leader Bruno Junqueira off the road. And again, Junqueira simply couldn't overcome the language barrier. There he is, getting ready to climb into his car. Let's go to Derek Daly.
And Bruno Junqueira is here, just lacing up his boots. Bruno, go ahead, continue to do that. But Mid-Ohio, your championship took a big blow with that incident with Oriol Servia. Does that make you conservative today, Bruno, or is it just as you've always driven?
I'll drive always like I'll go to win.
You go to win?
Yeah, I'm gonna drive to win.
Okay, drive to win. Now, after yesterday's session, boys, Bruno made a remarkably funny statement. He said because they moved the porta potty from where it normally is, he couldn't have a pee before qualifying. Therefore, that extra weight cost him maybe that thousandths of a second that could have put him on the pole. So methinks a pound of pee or a pint of pee potentially cost Bruno pole position. Huh?
Ah, yes, Derek, these are delicate subjects indeed. There is Paul Tracy, very much the apple of this crowd's eye as he comes in looking for his third Canadian win. 2 weeks ago, this was Paul Tracy on the left, along with his teammate Patrick Carpentier, reliving the moment a year ago when Carpentier ran semi-naked, as he promised he would if he won at Mid-Ohio. Tracy leads the championship by 20 points after going into that Mid-Ohio race 3 points down. That's how quickly things can change in the Champ Car Series this year. Michel Jourdain Jr. now 47 points behind. 11 drivers are still mathematically in the hunt for this year's championship. Let's go to Calvin Fish.
Paul Tracy getting ready here. Paul, you're going for the clean sweep of the Canadian races, but starting 8th. Tough? Is it impossible?
I don't think it's impossible. I've won from further back, so you know, qualifying didn't go the way we want. That's the way it is. So I have a fast car. We had a fast car this morning. We're going to race our way to the front.
After the Vancouver win, your team boss Jerry Forsyth kind of said something about $1 million bonus check. Is that safe today?
I don't know. You have to ask him, but I got some dollar signs in my eyes, so watch out.
All right, mate. Have a great day. Bob?
All right, thanks very much. He is definitely racy chasey. 13th Champ Car season, 204 career starts. That's 5th all time. He's joined in the 200 start club with Jimmy Vasser. 18 poles, 25 wins, but there's the important number on the bottom, 0 championships. That is something he means to correct this year. National anthems are playing. Let's listen in.
Well, Patrick Carpentier sits alone now in the cockpit. He's a Montrealer from these streets here. Patrick, it's been a bit of a mixed weekend. The engine blow, the spin yesterday. How high is your confidence level?
It's pretty good. You know, when we ran, the car was good. It's a beautiful day, sunshine. The grandstands are packed, and we're going to go racing. So whatever happens, I'm going to enjoy it, and I think we've got a good car.
Thank you, Patrick. These boys are so well organized. Look, the drink is even blue for the players' teams. But it's a time of high tension here. Can a Canadian win this big event?
Welcome back to Montreal. A big weekend for Jimmy Vasser. So many years in the series, the championship back in 1996, 5 teams in all, and everyone has nothing but great things to say about the California Kid, now known as Captain America. Winner last November of the fastest 500-mile race of all time. Now, of course, he is Jimmy Vasser with American Spirit Team Johansson. He drove an absolutely scorching race 2 weeks ago in Mid-Ohio before spinning out in the closing laps. Last night, on the occasion of his 200th career start, drivers, officials, crews, and fans honored Jimmy, including perhaps his best friend, Alex Zanardi, who sang a little ditty to his old teammate over the phone. Artist Bill Patterson created an original work honoring Jimmy on his 200th start, and it was sold for some $10,000 to raise funds for CART charities. Calvin Fish.
Well, Jimmy Vasser, the king of cool, gets ready for the start here today. But Jimmy, last evening, the get-together had to mean a lot to you, mate.
Yeah, it was fantastic. You know, brought back a lot of memories over the years, and topped off with a song by my friend, my good friend Zanardi. Was really something special. I didn't know what to say.
Okay, well, certainly great moments last night. Jimmy getting ready here. Remember, he was the fastest man on the racetrack at Mid-Ohio. Had the off run there that spoiled the day, but certainly this Reynard is fast once again. Don't count him out today. These boys have a shot, Bob.
Well, he proved 2 weeks ago at Mid-Ohio that he can be very, very quick, even in this much unloved Reynard chassis. Here's a look at the 200 Club, 6 members only. Michael Andretti, Al Unser Jr., Bobby Rahal, Mario Andretti, Paul Tracy, and now Jimmy Vasser. Not to rub it in, BT, but everybody on that list except Tracy has at least one series championship. There is Paul. His big afternoon is about to begin. Speed Channel coverage of the Champ Car Grand Prix of Montreal is being brought to you by Bridgestone Tires, advanced technology that gives you a grip on the future. And by Ford. If you haven't looked at Ford lately, look again. Welcome back to Montreal. A beautiful view on a beautiful day, looking down on the circuit named for the patron saint of Canadian racing drivers, the late Gilles Villeneuve. But not since Villeneuve has a Canadian driver won a marquee event here that could change today. Final thoughts before we get underway. Derek Daly.
Tommy Kendall mentioned that Grand Prix in 1978 earlier. I was in that race. It was a monster day for Canadian motorsports. And although a Canadian has not won here that marquee event, Bob, as you said, it will happen someday. And when it does, it'll be a great tribute to the name that's still on the start-finish line that says, Salut Gilles. Salut Gilles Villeneuve. It may be today it happens. Calvin.
Derek, today we may see a first-time winner here. Both the men on the front row haven't won a Champ Car race, but the fact is, this is one of the closest fields ever. We're seeing 7 cars tied together by 0.2 of a second on the front of the grid. It is really an open game today. Strategy will be key. Fuel is an issue.
All right, thanks very much, gentlemen. TK, your final thoughts?
Well, all eyes are on Alex Tagliani. He's shown promise, almost won, and I believe like his 3rd race at Rio de Janeiro, has still not logged his first career victory. Today's the day to convert potential into results.
Well, if the weather is any indication of the chances of a Canadian victory, I'd say it's going to happen. It's absolutely beautiful. We have a huge crowd on hand, and they have 3 drivers to root for. 2 of them native Montrealers. The cars are now on track, warming their Ford Cosworth engines and their Bridgestone tires. In moments, the 2nd annual Champ Car Grand Prix of Montreal will unfold. We'll take a break and be back, joining you in a moment. Junqueira finds himself in the championship lead for the first time.
In this championship, we need to win more races.
Winning races. 2 drivers appear to have broken away from the field in the bid for this year's championship.
Bruno Junqueira has been a model of consistency.
Some races you cannot win, and then I take 2nd and 3rd place.
The championship can be lost today. It's certainly not going to be won today.
We are locked, cocked, and ready to rock, Doc. Oh, Oriol Servia's off. He may not be the only one.
It's Bruno.
Bruno Junqueira is off as well, the points leader.
Bruno can't believe it.
Across the line they come, and a 6th seasonal victory that puts Paul Tracy back into the championship lead.
You know, we just did what we had to do to get this points lead back.
Today, it's about more than wins and points. This is Montreal, last stop on the Canadian Triple Crown. For the contenders, it's a line drawn in the sand. Canadian sports heroes play hockey. In the summer, they go racing. And today, 3 Canadian drivers have a chance to race into their countrymen's hearts. Round 14 of the Bridgestone presents the Champ Car World Series, powered by Ford. The Molson Champ Car Grand Prix of Montreal is about to start. It's a big weekend for American Jimmy Vasser, making his 200th career start. But in the eyes of this massive Canadian crowd, there are only 3 drivers that matter. Alex Tagliani, Paul Tracy, and Patrick Carpentier. Tracy goes for his 3rd win on home soil. Carpentier is racing in front of his home fans, and Alex Tagliani will start from pole position. I'm Bob Varsha. Welcome to the circuit, Villeneuve in Montreal. Here's Derek Daly.
Well, Bob, there's no doubt Paul Tracy has been in a bit of trouble this weekend. The car is unstable. They tell me they found the reason last night, and it's fixed. I'm not convinced. Alex Tagliani, he's on the crest of a wave. This could be the biggest day of his life.
Certainly the focus right now is who will win the race today. Can a Canadian do it? But the big picture is still the championship. This is round 14 of 19, and when you look at the points, certainly the season that both Bruno Junqueira and Michel Jourdain are having, typically they'd be in the lead. But that doesn't account for Paul Tracy. 6 wins, he still leads it by 20 points. They need a blip on his radar screen. Maybe him starting 8. They can capitalize on that today, Bob.
Thank you, Calvin Fish. Let's turn immediately to our starting grid, powered by Ford. On the front row, for the first time in 2 seasons, neither front row starter has ever won a race. Alex Tagliani has a pole for the new Johnson Controls Rocket Sports team. He'll start next to the fastest man in Friday's opening round of qualifying, Oriol Servia. On row 2, Bruno Junqueira is 2nd in the championship coming into this weekend. Michel Jourdain Jr. stands 3rd. On row 4, Patrick Carpentier, who fell out of this race in the late going last year in such an emotional situation, is very cool and calm this weekend. He starts next to French rookie sensation Sébastien Bourdais. On row 4, the 2 veterans, Jimmy Vasser with that all-important 200th start, next to the championship leader, Paul Tracy. Tommy Kendall, a thought on these 2 old friends of yours?
2 guys that couldn't be more different, but the fact is their entire careers have been run alongside each other. Last year's race here, they raced hard all day long, lived next to each other in Vegas, but go at it tooth and nail on the racetrack.
Let's move to row 5. Young Englishman Darren Manning starts next to Mexican former Rookie of the Year Mario Dominguez. Row 6, Tiago Monteiro of Portugal has been very quick this weekend. He starts next to Brazilian Mario Haberfeld. On row 7, the oldest driver in the series, the ageless Roberto Moreno, 44 years young, next to the youngest driver around, Ryan Hunter-Reay, just 22. 2 weeks ago, Ryan Hunter-Reay stood on his first Champ Car podium. This weekend, he crashed heavily, tearing the nose off of his car. That chassis was compromised. He'll be in a backup car for today's race. It was a big hit. On row 8, Max Pappas of Italy starts next to Adrian Fernandez, the only owner driver in the series. On row 9, Walter Salles of Brazil starts next to Mexican Rodolfo Levine. And on row 10, you find young American Jeff Boss. We are in the heart of Quebec, in old Montreal, right in the St. Lawrence River. Take us around this 2-mile racetrack, Tommy.
Well, obviously down in the first of the, where it funnels down the 1-2 complex, the next 3-4 chicanes, 6, 7, 8, 9, all high-speed braking areas that are made challenging by the low downforce setup. The hairpin in turn 10, and again, the final 12-13 complex onto the front straight where Ryan Hunter-Reay had his problem.
2.7 miles to be precise. Now let's take a look at our Bridgestone keys to the race. 75 lap schedule, and as Calvin Fish mentioned, fuel mileage may be a problem here today. Maximum speeds in excess of 100, make it 185 miles an hour on the straightaways, but some of these corners are down to 50 miles an hour. It's a warm 81 degrees, 102 degrees track temperature. The pit interval is set at 20 laps, but it's very, very doubtful that a car can go that far on a full load of fuel. The pit windows open on lap 15, 35, and 55, closed because they are mandatory at 20, 40, and 60. By 20, 40, and 60 laps, you must stop for 4 fresh tires. Final pace laps have been complete. The crowd is in their seats. Well, many of them, they're standing because Alex Tagliani of Montreal is on pole. Field will form up on the Casino straightaway. Safety car is in. You ride with the pole sitter, Tagliani.
They're at 13.
You hear the voice of race control, Paul Layton, talking to flagman J.D. Wilbur.
All nice and close, but single file. 14. 15, single file coming at you, starter.
Has already made up 2 positions up into 6 behind his teammate Carpentier.
Now the flat-out dash to the slowest corner on the circuit, the hairpin. Watch the downshifts. 5 gears down.
Look how much curve they use. These are the FIA spec curving. They're wider, but they're actually very shallow, not very severe at all. Do not upset the cars terribly. Consequently, the guys use as much of them as they dare.
Very tight right-left chicane leading onto the start-finish straightaway, just below our announce position. And what a moment for Alex Tagliani, leading lap 1 in front of a massive crowd of his home fans. His 3rd race led this season. He also led at Brands Hatch in England and on the Milwaukee Mile. On board with Carpentier.
That exit at turn 2 is one of 2 spots here that I think the lack of traction control is really going to show as the tires start to wear. The other one is the exit of the chicane coming up, where it's a longer exit. Most street courses, most corners, you have a pretty shallow exit when you start feeding the power. And right here, but they have to actually do 2 shifts before the car is actually straight here. And that will really show up when the rear tires start to lose grip. Traction control used to dampen out any sort of little bit of momentary wheel spin, but now they're going to have to do that themselves. The other obvious place is listen to the wheel spin. When the Ford engine, the turbo hits more abruptly than years past. And it'll snatch the tires loose if there's any sort of loss of grip at the rear, as the tires degrade a little bit. The Bridgestones have been phenomenal. They're able to, as the fuel load burns off, the grip just doesn't seem to go away. But even when they lose 2 or 3%, get a little maybe gravel or dirt on the track, coming off the hairpin, when that Ford turbo lights, it'll snatch those rear tires. Look at Oriol Servia start to close back up.
Tommy, Paul Tracy told me that if he made up positions at the start, he would not take a gamble on an early pit stop or a short fill of fuel. If he lost position at the start, he would go and take that gamble.
In replay, oh man, look at Oriol Servia challenge down there in 1. Before Tagliani consolidated the lead, and everyone made it through the 1-2 complex, known as the Senna complex, here on the circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Board with Mario Dominguez. We're looking for possible contact with Darren Manning, and boy, I guess.
Put a big old donut on that new sponsor logo on Darren Manning's car, sportsbook.com. For all you gambling addicts, I'm not sure it's legal in the States, but up here in Canada it is.
Whoa. Dominguez getting around Jimmy Vasser, who's having all kinds of problems getting it straightened up. Sportsbook.com will be one of the sponsors when we go to Miami, to the streets of Miami, Florida, for the Grand Prix of the Americas.
I believe it's the world's biggest online gaming company. Started out in the Caribbean, now they're based in London.
see more sponsors coming on board here in the Champ Car Series. Another time through the complex, named for the late three-time Formula One champion from Brazil. Of course, much of the history on this track was made using Formula One machinery. This is the second year for the Champ Cars here in Canada's most exotic city. It has quickly become one of the drivers' favorite stops. Let's get more on the Derek Walker team with Calvin Fish.
Derek Darren has a fast car this weekend, fastest in the warm-up, but fuel is an issue, particularly on this first stint with the parade laps. What do you need to see on fuel mileage?
Well, it's real tough to get to lap 20, which is what everybody's shooting for. So, you know, we've got to get about 165, somewhere in that region, to get anywhere close. And I think most people are probably about a lap out at the moment.
Saw Darren get bumped there on the first lap. Did he radio in with any information there?
No, he hasn't said anything. Obviously, everybody's going for it early on, but it's a tough race to finish, so we're hanging in for the long haul.
Well, certainly they're looking at all of the different strategies here. We did look at the fact that maybe with the pit windows opening at lap 15, if we saw a yellow early, certainly the tail enders would pit, but maybe someone deeper in the pack will do so also, TK, and take a run at it.
I'll tell you what, that's confirmation of what I had feared. That is so disheartening. These fuel windows were brought to make it so that fuel was not an issue, and guys could just pour the coal to it for the entire race. That changes the complexion of this race dramatically. All these guys basically are in fuel-saving mode, which we were trying to get about, and that's a bit of a blot on CART's copybook. They're the ones that are supposed to keep track of that, make sure those windows are such that fuel is not even a concern.
Derek Daly.
With Paul Gentilozzi, the owner of TAG's Johnson Controls team. Paul, he's leading, but you're telling me he's going to try and set a pace because of the pit window?
Well, I think everybody's setting a pace. I mean, Jim McGee's probably watching this, and I know Carl Haas is watching it, but you got to be smart. You got to have enough fuel to get past that first window opening, and right now, everybody's got a little bit of a fuel issue, so we're being careful.
Okay, and the fuel issue, boys, as we discussed yesterday, is because this racetrack is a series of drag strips, and drag strips and hard acceleration drinks a lot of fuel.
There are the windows again. The window will open on lap 15. That's 10 laps from now, 9 laps when they pass onto the flag stand. We'll take a quick break. Looking back from race leader Alex Tagliani's Johnson Controls car, we'll be back to Montreal. Speed Channel coverage of the Champ Car Grand Prix of Montreal. Brought to you by Bridgestone Tires, advanced technology that gives you a grip on the future. And by Ford. If you haven't looked at Ford lately, look again. You're looking down on a man-made island, the Ile Notre Dame in the St. Lawrence River. You see the ship canal to the far right of your screen, the 76 Olympic rowing basin right next to it, and the lagoon on which all sorts of watercraft have been performing demonstration events all weekend. For a huge crowd gathered here for round 14 of the Bridgestone Presents the Champ Car World Series powered by Ford. I'm Bob Varsha with Tommy Kendall. Derek Daly and Calvin Fisher in the pit lane. You ride with Paul Tracy looking for his 3rd straight win in Canada. He made up 2 quick places at the start. Let's go back and take a look. Have a right and left, and they'll face the green flag. It's Jimmy Vasser ahead of him.
Done on the outside.
Sebastian Bourdais now ahead. Whoop. Wow. Oh, my. Classic Paul Tracy in traffic. So much at stake this weekend. Well, he is the points leader by 20 coming in, but it has not been Tracy's weekend. He's having to come from deep in the field. He is currently 6th. Derek Daly.
With Neil Mickelwright, team manager here, we just saw Paul Tracy make those 2 moves at the start. Does that give you confidence, Neil, that this instability that has dogged him in qualifying might be taken care of?
Certainly the indications that we have is that things look a little bit better. And, you know, certainly looking on the telemetry as well, the spikes that we're seeing seem more normal.
So you're more confident?
At this point, yeah.
Thank you, Neil.
Ryan Hunter-Reay has spun in the hairpin.
I'm not sure you can read too much into the performance of the car on cold laps and assume that the problem that cost him as little as 2 or 3 tenths in qualifying is fixed. I mean, that was just vintage Paul Tracy. Half of those moves over his career have ended in tears, half of them end in gasps of admiration. It's just the nature of the beast. He just can't help himself. And it's what makes him so exciting to watch. It's also partially what's responsible for him never having won a championship. This year, he's pulled almost every single one of them off, with the exception of the first lap at Elkhart Lake, or the restart lap at Elkhart Lake.
Full course caution for Ryan Hunter-Ray spin. You ride with Mario Dominguez, who has been officially warned for aggressive driving for that contact with Darren Manning. Let's take a look at what happened to Ryan Hunter-Ray, trying to outbrake. It's Mario Haberfeld and Roberto Moreno among those demoting the rookie from Boca Raton, Florida.
Haberfeld kind of shoved him out on the really dirty part of the track. Haberfeld, I'm sorry. And
why did his mom call? Our first caution of the day. He'll get a push start from the Simple Green Kart safety team and be on his way. I don't see any real obvious flat spotting on those tires. There's a little patch. This taking place on lap number 8.
Now, to me, this is a more likely scenario to get out of sequence than actually opening at the front of the window. This is what they did to good effect at Mid-Ohio, and then they kind of got head faked when they saw that car stranded. They thought it was going to lead to a caution. It didn't. But this is the best chance, actually, of getting out of sequence and having some good come of it. He'll pit at the, basically it'll be lap 8. Nobody else up front would pit because the window doesn't open until 15. What this means, after every stop, he will have 8 laps of green flag running with a clear track to try to make up some distance, and it will work. If he's quick enough, quicker than the guys in front of him, he will end up probably in the top 5 by the end of the day.
Let's keep an eye on the pit lane, see if anyone comes in this early.
That advantage that he will gain by coming in will be negated if yellows come during those stints, but it's definitely a good gamble by the Fernandez team, and I would consider it even if I was in the top 10 and knew I had a fast car.
There you see Adrian Fernandez with 1 win this year on the natural terrain road course at Portland, Oregon. We'll take a break and return to beautiful Montreal in just a moment. Welcome back to Montreal. Be sure to catch Inside Winston Cup here on Speed Channel with all the background stories from this past weekend's Cup race at Bristol, Tennessee. And if you saw that race, you know there's a lot to talk about. Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time every week. Catch Inside Winston Cup here on Speed Channel. Big crowd enjoying a beautiful sunshiny day here. Typical summer day in Montreal. On board with Mario Dominguez. While we have a moment, we want to give a shout out to an old friend of Champ Car. Former car owner Doug Shearson is battling cancer. He won the Indy 500 in 1990 with Arie Luyendyk, 7 Champ Car victories, including 3 with Danny Sullivan. His other drivers included Howdy Holmes, Al Unser Jr., Raul Boesel, Scott Goodyear, Arie Luyendyk. We know you're watching, Doug, and all of your kart friends are thinking of you here in Montreal. On board with Max Pappas. Just make that paint job on the PK Racing Lola better and better with each passing race. On board with Oriol Servia. What a weekend for him. His best previous starting position was a 4th. He had a shot at pole. Started from the outside of the front row for the first time. A lot of smiles around the Patrick Racing pit this weekend. And of course, you know all about Paul Tracy. That long-awaited first championship might not be too far away. Before we restart, let's go to the pit lane and Calvin Fish.
Well, Sebastian Bourdais, Bob, is certainly having some troubles. Remember in Mid-Ohio, he lost his water bottle, the refreshment that he has inside the cockpit. That's gone away again. He's also saying the engine is running rough, and they've gone with an aerodynamic setup where he's reporting he can't keep up with the other cars down the straightaway. So maybe they thought the track was going to get a little slippy, put a bit more downforce in the car, and now down these long straightaways he can't keep up. So he is not a happy camper right now.
I would guess. Notice that wall on the right. Around here, they call that Champions Wall. 1 year in the Formula One Grand Prix here in Canada. Michael Schumacher, Damon Hill, and Jacques Villeneuve, Formula One world champions all managed to hit that wall in the same race. Pit stops are beginning. Adrian Fernandez is in. Calvin Fish.
Well, just as TK mentioned, some of the boys are going to take advantage of this. Moreno has been a diesel weight first, followed by Adrian. changes on the car, just 4 Bridgestone tires. That increases the window, topped him up with gas. Ryan Hunter-Reay has made his way back into pit lane. We also had Pappas stop and Levin.
We also see Roberto Moreno coming back out. On board with Pappas.
And I'm really surprised that some of the front runners, I know it seems a big risk to pull out a line, but if I was a guy that was not in the championship hunt and I was anywhere in the top 6, I would probably have come in, because that strategy, if you're quick, will work.
Our pace car this weekend is being driven by native Canadian Kelly Williams, while Gilles is signaling the drivers from the passenger seat. They'll be in a moment and will be green. We'll take a break and come back. Welcome back to Montreal, looking up the backstretch under one of several bridges that cross essentially park roads. It's listed on the schedule as a natural terrain road course, but this is all man-made. This is basically a network of park roads, so to me, it's a street circuit. And nobody comes from behind on street circuits better than Paul Tracy. Back in 1995, he won in Surfers Paradise, Australia from 9th on the grid. In 2000, he won in Long Beach, California from 17th on the grid. Right now, Tracy runs 6th, and you're riding with him as we await the green flag.
As far as I'm concerned, you call this a street course. This is like the prototype. If you could design the ultimate Champ Car racetrack, it's almost like a little bit of Elkhart Lake in the city. You've got all this park area, water. The fans can ride on the back of Sea-Doos around in that lagoon, and it's really a tremendous blend of all the things that make Champ Car racing great.
Off the corner, Alex Tagliani comes with the Visteon car of Oriol Servia right on his gearbox. We're green. 10 laps complete of 75 schedule.
Montero had to look down the inside of Manning.
That was close.
I actually probably should give a little bit of a correction to Thiago Montero. I looked at the tape of Mid-Ohio again, and his penalty he received against Dominguez afterwards, he was adamant that he was trying to get out of Dominguez's way, and I didn't see it that way at the time, but when I look back, it looks to me like he really was. He lost him for a second in his mirrors. He was on cold tires, had to pay attention to the kink, but in hindsight, I really do think Montero was trying to get out of Dominguez's way.
Well, as long as we're confessing, I'll apologize to Ford Cosworth. I said in yesterday's qualifying program that we lost 2 engines, one by Carpentier, one by Jourdain. In actuality, Jourdain had an accident that stripped the auxiliary pumps off the engine and caused it to fail, so that was not a fault of the engine. And they have been, engine failures this year have been as rare as hen's teeth, as the saying goes. Here come the players' teammates, Carpentier with Tracy following.
One additional thing I hadn't thought of about that divergent strategy that Fernandez is on is that eliminates the fuel concern. They don't have to, they can, the rest of the race, they have to make the same number of stops as everybody else, but they're going to have those long runs on hot tires, and they can run full pace. So these, depending on how much these guys are backing off to make those numbers, Fernandez could be quite a bit quicker during those times. And actually Moreno's in front of him, so Moreno is the guy probably to watch most closely.
Tommy, nobody's backing off anymore. The Johnson Controls team and Newman Hassan players just told their guys flat out, we've had enough yellow, we don't need to conserve.
Okay, if you folks at home are playing your own strategy game, can you expect yellow flags here in Montreal? The answer is yes. We had 3 last year in the inaugural running of this race for a total of 8 laps. If they come in the right places, they could be key in today's race. Many times I've been to this racetrack, I'm always, oh, we got another spinner.
I think it's
Bruno Shakira. Looked like it caused too much damage. He was 3rd. Where does he remount? He comes back out behind. Dominguez on the road ahead of him.
Ah, he dumped a wheel off in the grass under the braking area.
Coming at you.
Watch his left rear wheel. Oh, he lost. Okay, that's why he dumped the wheel in the grass. The rear's locked under braking, caused the car to slew sideways when it corrected. And wow, that is a tough mistake. Braking here is paramount We talked about it in qualifying, having to balance, get the cars stopped with light fuel or light downforce. Everyone talks about how much that hurts you through the corners. When you take downforce off of a car, it affects it equally, I feel, under braking.
I said didn't hurt him much. Actually, it dropped him from 3rd to 8th, so it did.
And from gaining on Tracy to losing to Tracy, that's big in terms of championship implications. Long way to go, but one little momentary lockup like that cost him 5 spots.
TK, it's a real challenge for these engineers to get the braking right. They're bringing it down from 170 miles an hour all the way down to 40 for that hairpin in about 2.8 seconds, pulling over 3 Gs. We talked about temperatures yesterday, 950 degrees C rotor temperature. The other problem is they're going to add some scoops for the race. Obviously, they're going to go to a bigger scoop than in qualifying, but they also get knockoff on the pad. The way the guys are treating the curbs here, bumping over the curbs, as the race wears on and the pad gets a little bit thin, you get a lot of knockoff there. Then the pedal goes away and changes the balance once again. So they really have to be careful here, and they've done their homework, but it can still go wrong.
Alex Tagliani drawing away a bit. He's got a 1.5-second lead now over Oriol Servia. And it's 2.5 seconds back to place Michel Jourdain.
Paul Tracy has now just been given the green light from his team as well to stop saving fuel and go for it. And to comment on what Calvin Fish talked about in terms of knockoff, pad knockoff, what that is the brake rotor is a big disc that's spinning. When they hit these curves, it actually causes the hub to deflect a little bit on the bearing. And when you extend that out, it only deflects a little bit at the hub, but the end of the rotor is way out there, and so it's moving maybe a 1/2 inch, and that'll push the pads back. When you go to step on the brake pedal, the pads are a little ways away, and it takes a pump to get the pads back next to the rotor. And so until you get used to that, for a left-foot breaker, it's not a problem. You can pump the brake up, which Bruno is a left-foot breaker. You can pump the brakes up a little bit, so the pads are right there when you go for it at the chicanes.
Here's a look at the fast laps of the race. And these numbers from 21.4 to 21.9 would have put you well up the grid in first-round qualifying on Friday. This track has picked up a lot of speed in the last 48 hours. Is a corduroy road over those curves.
Dominguez is looking pretty racy here.
The 7th.
That's Dominguez catching up Bourdais. It looked like he was reeling in Tracy a little bit. And here comes Bruno back into the picture.
Breathing room for Tagliani. Servia. Let's take a look. Moments ago, Rodolfo Levine in the hairpin. Where else? A little lockup at the rear.
If you watch closely, ordinarily you brake all the way on the left side of the road. He knew he was a little bit in trouble, so he turned the wheel pointed for the inside of the corner. What that does is it buys you a little bit more time to get some speed scrubbed off. He still got some lockup at the very end, but that was kind of heads-up driving by Levine.
Ryan Hunter-Reay went by, but he is a lap down. We'll take a break and be back with more from the Ile Notre Dame and the circuit Gilles Villeneuve here in Montreal. Round 14 of the Bridgestone presents the Champ Car World Series powered by Ford. Bike racing strike your fancy? Find out about all the racing going on around the world. Two-Wheel Tuesdays here on Speed Channel, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Check in with Greg White about what's going on two wheels. You'll be surprised if my buddy Dave Despain chimes in. There's nothing he loves more than the bikes. Two-Wheel Tuesdays, 10:30 p.m. Eastern, only on Speed Channel. Back in Montreal, 15 laps complete. That was a ride with Max Pappas right down at ground level. Looking out the back, Pappas currently 17th in the PK Racing Lola, the Scientific Atlanta car. Here comes the Gigante machine from Team Rahal. Michel Jourdain Jr., like Bruno Junqueira, knows he has to come forward and get ahead of Paul Tracy and stay there. Right now, Jourdain is 3rd, Tracy is 5th, Junqueira is 8th. Window for pit stops for the front runners is now open. Interesting to see if anybody can get to 20 laps.
Jim McGee has told Oriol Servia we're going to pit in 3, and Bourdais has been told the same thing. That based on my math, that puts us at lap 19. Sometimes the language is different. Sometimes they do a 3, 2, 1, and then in. So 1 could actually be 2 laps to go. So, but if they pit on 19 and anybody else can go to 20, that's what won the race for Bourdais in the last fuel race we had at Brands Hatch. If you can go 1 lap longer, you will leapfrog probably at least 2 guys in front of you if you're relatively close behind.
Because you're light on fuel and you've got nice hot Bridgestones under you.
That's exactly the case down here for Patrick Racing. That's how they call it, TK. 3, 2, 1, and then an inboard. So that gives them the extra lap. They're confident they can get 20 laps on this run. Derek?
Well, the leader is not confident. Tagliani is going to be in on lap 19. They've told him run as hard as you can, and he's beginning to stretch his lead. But they don't believe they have enough gas to go to that magical 20 number.
Keep it going.
Say hello to our visor cam. You're about an inch to the left eye of Alex Tagliani. That's what he sees.
Right now the gap is 3.2 seconds. He will need every bit of that to overcome that 1 lap difference. But it's better to know early, similar to Paul Tracy when he knew he had to serve that penalty at Portland, to know and just put your head down rather than kind of saying, can we make it, can we not? They've said, we're going to stop on 19, go for it.
Best finish on Canadian soil for Alex Tagliani, second in Toronto 2 years ago. Now this is Mario Dominguez and Sebastian Bourdais, and I'm flabbergasted, or something like that. Don't try this at home, kids. I am a trained professional. Don't try this at home either.
That is more than optimistic.
No. Man.
They both picked up about a second on the guy in front of them on that one.
Race control will be eyeing that one.
Bourdais had no choice once Dominguez came down there and straight-lined it.
Same thing happened on Saturday to Bourdais when Paul Tracy came down the inside. Tracy could not see around Bourdais to see that Mario Haberfeld was going slowly down the right side of the track. If you were with us, there's some pretty breathtaking video as Tracy just jinked to the left of Haberfeld at high speed, got under Bourdais, made the corner. Bourdais chose discretion over valor.
And look how much closer they are to Paul Tracy now. And the officials have said since the order did not change, there will not be a penalty. If I was Dominguez, I'd go down to Bourdais' guy and say, hey, let's do that every lap and we'll catch these leaders. The cynic in me, of course, says that. And the competitor.
Is there cynicism in you?
Well, maybe.
There's your leader, who continues to draw away. The gap is now 3.6 seconds. Alex Tagliani has the bit firmly between his teeth, but he'll be pitting shortly, working lap 19. See who can go to 20. There's Tagliani.
Steady, watch your speed coming into the pit. You got a clear run in and put it on the mark.
Leader is in. Derek Daly awaits him.
So this is a bit of a gamble to bring him in 1 lap earlier than the rest of the front runners. There are no changes being made to Tag's car.
Reset your fuel.
Absolutely routine.
Hold it. Go. Watch your speed.
An appreciative cheer from the crowd for the work of the Johnson Controls team.
Look at that white line. They're not allowed to cross that with either set of tires on the way out of the pit lane. Now, I would actually argue a little with Derek said. It's a gamble to come in. It's actually not a gamble to come in. It's a detriment to come in early, but a gamble is staying on the track when you don't think you can make it all the way around. Another issue to watch as the race goes on is how quickly these cars fuel. I was talking with Paul Gentilozzi last night, and he says, we've discovered that our fueling system does not fuel as quickly as some other guys. Some other guys down the pit lane, even though you're supposedly not supposed to be able to do anything to modify that, the other guys flow, some teams flow up to a second faster than us. So they pulled the probe out at about 10.7 seconds. Now, if you have a gap like this, it's not a big deal, but if everybody comes in there under yellow, that extra second, Paul Gentilozzi says, we're working on it, but right now, other guys are doing it better than we are.
Oriol Servia took over the lead, only only the second lead of the season for him. He led 5 laps at Long Beach, and he leads a long stream of cars into the pits. Let's go to Calvin.
He hits the marks. We expect no changes here on the Visteon car. The Bridgestone tires are going on. They're fueling, and this is where the Jourdain team a little bit further down. Make sure, let's see what happens. Great lead, Derek.
Jourdain sits stationary. There goes Serbia. There goes Jourdain. To my left side, Bourdais is in. Juncker is in. Actually, Carpentier just passed Paul Tracy.
And here comes Tagliani. Oh, tag with an extra lap of heat in his tires. Look, he had almost 4 seconds when he came in. You can see exactly how much. Oh,
maybe
there comes
contact
Moreno. And Moreno, this is going to mess with Moreno's plans to make hay on that other strategy because he's trapped behind Tagliani. Lap with the gaps. Here comes Fernandez on the same strategy as Moreno.
So those are your top 3, Tagliani, Moreno, and Fernandez. As we continue to cycle through the pit stops, on board with Tagliani, he and the man behind him there, Moreno, are 2 of the 4 drivers in this race who won Toyota Atlantic Championship races here. The other 2 are Jimmy Vasser back in 1991, and of course Patrick Carpentier in 96. Moreno won in 1986. Oh! Big problems there for Serbia as Michel Jourdain came under in turn 12.
Jourdain continuing his fine form on cold tires. We saw him when he was driving with on a mission there at Laguna Seca, and more of the same here.
And look at the lineup of cars behind Serbia. Let's get more on his situation with Calvin Fish.
Here with Jim McGee. Jim, you got the extra lap you needed over Tag. That got you the lead, but now on cold tires, or he'll slip back a little bit. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, we got just a little slow on cold tires, it looks like, but he said the car's good. The Visteon car's running real good, and, you know, he's just got to get the tires up a little quicker, I think.
Is this the strongest race car you've had all season, Jim?
Yeah, no, we've had good race cars quite a bit of the season, but, you know, certainly this car's a good one, so hopefully we can bring it home and get a little bit further up the grid here.
All right, mate, thanks a lot. Let's go down to Derek.
Well, the Johnson Controls car is still in control here. Paul Gentilozzi, is it strategy or is it race time?
Well, when it goes green, it's race time for me. You know, when you got a guy that wants to run, you got to let him go. We held back a little bit. We didn't save enough fuel to make it worthwhile. Everybody's going to have a different technique. Ours is, it's a race.
Okay, boys, pedal to the metal.
And things are playing into their favor big time. Those cars, Moreno, who's running quickly, but Fernandez, who's not running quite as quickly, are going to really factor into this. If they start impeding Jourdain and Serbia's progress, that could play right into Gentilozzi's hands. They could split up the rest of the race kind of evenly and not worry as much about that disadvantage of stopping early. That's if it stays green. That all goes out the window with yellow. But right now, things are looking good for Tagliani.
Let's take another look from overhead.
And this is why Oriol ran wide in that chicane, similar with Bourdais. Jourdain gets there late. Serbia turns in. There's a car inside of him. He heads for the clear spot.
Man, it is close down there in that chicane.
And Jourdain coming back across to the left. If those of you who are wondering if that's okay with the new blocking rules, that is actually the preferred line. The guys swing back left under the starter stand. See, Max Pappas having a look down the inside of Serbia.
Things have now settled down just a bit. Serbia is now 5th behind Tagliani, Moreno, Fernandez, and Jourdain. We'll take a break and return to Montreal in a moment. One of the new stops on the Champ Car World Series is the mile-high city of Denver, Colorado, sports capital of the West. Remember the challenge of setting up one of these highly aerodynamic 750 horsepower Champ cars for the thin air of altitude? Bruno Junqueira had the wheels under him last year, but even the mile-wide turn wasn't wild enough for the aggressive stars of Champ car. Junqueira flag to flag in 2002. Who will win the Champ Car Grand Prix of Denver this year? Check it out here on Speed Channel. Saturday, live qualifying coverage at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And on Sunday, same-day delayed coverage of the Champ Car Grand Prix of Denver comes your way at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll also have the Toyota Atlantic Championship and the Trans Am Series for the BF Goodrich Tires Cup in Denver. So load up on chips and beverages and plan on a big weekend of road racing here on Speed Channel next weekend. Here's the view from Max Pappas's car back up the Casino Straight. Let's take a look at our race summary. The leader is Alex Tagliani. He has led 22 laps, by far his longest lead of any race this year. We've had 2 lead changes, that coming on the pit stops when Oriol Servia took over for Tagliani. Those 2 front row starters have dominated thus far. We have 1 caution for 2 laps. We are ahead of last year's pace on yellow flags. Let's get to the pit lane and Derek Daly with an update on Bruno Junqueira.
Bob, the team are watching the telemetry and do not see anything temperature-wise that's out of the ordinary on Bruno's rear brakes, so they believe he just made a small mistake. On Paul Tracy's end of it, all they're telling him on the radio is where Bruno lies in the race.
And that position right now is 12, worth 1 championship point. That is not what the Brazilian wants. He spun off down in the hairpin, then made his pit stop, and he is struggling back in 12th spot.
12th with 4 guys, though, that have to make 1 more stop than he does at this point that are out of sequence. Whether Moreno and Fernandez will be able to make enough time to by the end of the day, to slot in ahead of him after making those stops remain to be seen. But at best case scenario, he's looking at 8th with guys that are on the same number of stops.
How close it is it on pit stops? Listen to some of the pit times from pit in to pit out for some of the quickest stops that last cycle through. Paul Tracy, 34.050 seconds. Carpentier, 34.112. Servia, 34.122. Tagliani, 34.197. It is that close. We're talking about tenths of a second.
There was a good view there from Dominguez of, you saw how quickly he was catching that car in front of him, which is Sebastian Bourdais. And Bourdais had complained about maybe their aero setup was not so hot, a combination, maybe the engine running a little bit roughly. Whatever it is, Dominguez has a lot more top end than Bourdais.
Take a look at the run down to the chicane. Bourdais on the right, Dominguez on the left.
This time, is this a replay of the same one?
No, this was just a lap ago. Again, Bourdais goes up there, risking the ire of the officials if he doesn't stay on the line. Here is Dominguez going up. No, this is... We're having a discussion with race control. What we're being told is Sebastian Bourdais pulled to the outside, the fast lane in the pit lane too early, thereby blocking Dominguez, so he's being told he must yield his position.
And that is not a replay again. That's the 3rd time there. I had to look out the window to make sure of what I was seeing.
Exactly.
So Bourdais is being asked to yield to 55, but he's not doing it just yet.
Probably also being told.
Mid-corner brake check. This is getting good.
Sebastian, the line is to the right of that curve.
Sebastian's got more than straight line problems.
And for Sebastian, Cart is saying that you must let Dominguez by because of your pit lane exit. Let Dominguez by.
Well.
Pit 4.
Oh, he's saying he must pit. Gearbox probably.
Yeah.
Give us the symptoms, Sebastian. Tell us what is wrong with the gearbox. I think it's a 4 tires and fuel, and we're going to have a look at it. Norm, be ready to have a look. Jack, look at it.
Sebastian Bourdais heads for the pits in the Lily car. Apparent gearbox problems.
Well, let's have a look at it. 4 tires and fuel, guys. Normie, let's have a look.
Well, Craig Hansen, Sebastian's engineer, has unplugged himself from the pit stand here. He does not have a confident look in his face.
Put the car up, put the car up.
No, this is more...
Tell
They
us
just
what's
shut it
wrong
down.
with it. I know you're saying diff, but what's it doing?
Just it's like it's not engaging. I feel that the duct of all the system just flipping from one to another. Everything's gone. There's no propulsion anymore.
Saying you have no drive at all. No drive at all.
There you go, boys. That's
I think he's saying he
straight
has
from the
drive,
horse's
but the
mouth.
diff
Guys, are
is
the
open.
rear wheels locked solid with each other?
Don't appear to be. Here comes Moreno and Fernandez on that alternate pit stop strategy, Calvin Fish.
Moreno just ahead of Adrian as they come into the pits here. We expect no changes, maybe a slight tire pressure change. That was all Chris Gorm was saying, his engineer. Weekend started off for Roberto. They changed the brakes on Friday morning practice. He never pumped them up and crashed on the way out of the pit lane. Good stuff for Roberto and another good one for Fernandez, but they maintain the same positions, Bob.
Relative to one another. We'll see where they wind up when they get back on track. Notice the pit exit. See where the dark pavement is. That's where a few years ago they adjusted the pit out to make it safer. It used to exit right there on the preferred racing line for turn 1. Now it's on the outside of turn 2. One of a number of modifications to this racetrack that have taken place over the years. Here's Paul Tracy up into 5th now, but a few moments ago he almost took both himself and his teammate out of the race. Just the last lap. That's his teammate, Patrick Carpentier, on the road ahead of him. Watch this.
Trying to pounce after Carpentier made a mistake in that last chicane before the hairpin. Gets the rear wheels locked.
Oh, my. Now from Carpentier's camera. All saying, let me by.
There's about 3 different things going on at once.
Boy, oh boy. Probably some interesting radio traffic going on right there. Here's another look from the ground camera down on the hairpin. Man, all kinds of lockup. Paul Tracy had that same problem in qualifying, getting the rears locked up and killing the engine revs. Derek Daly.
Sebastian Bourdais is here. Okay, we have 3 networks here, as you can imagine. Sebastian, I know it's disappointing. What do you think happened?
I think it's a differential because the whole 2 rear wheels are locked. Then that's why I had a big push as longer I was going into the run, and the car was nearly undrivable because it was just a spool. Then I mean the car is not turning anymore, and I think it was jumping from one teeth to another, and everything just fell apart.
Thank you, Sebastian. When he means it's a spool, of course, is a solid rear axle without the diff, which means he could not turn the car plowed straight on. Then it went downhill from there.
And that ends a great run for Sebastian Bourdais, who in Mid-Ohio 2 weeks ago became the first rookie in series history to score 5 consecutive top 5 finishes. That streak ended here today in Montreal. Clean and green off the front of Alex Tagliani's Johnson Controls Lola with 51 laps complete. We'll be back.
This weekend is the second visit to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve this year for the Bridgestone Tire Company. Now, earlier this year, Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari team, of course, won the Canadian Grand Prix shod with Bridgestone Formula One tires. Al Spire is Executive Director of Bridgestone Motorsports. Al, I suppose the question is there any similarity between the tires that we saw Michael Schumacher win with here and the tires that Champ Car will use this weekend?
Well, they're round and black, and they have Bridgestone patens on the sidewall, but after that, the similarity really ends. Biggest difference, Formula One tires are on 13-inch wheels, Champ cars are on 15-inch wheels, and that means that the Champ car tire actually has less air volume inside. They run on heavier cars, so the construction on a Champ car has to be a lot stronger and beefier.
What about the black and the sticky stuff, the compound, the bit that hits the road? Is there any correlation between what Ferrari uses and what we might see the boys here with this weekend?
Well, no, they're quite a bit different. Some similar thinking goes into them, but Formula One tires have grooves in them now. The Champ car tires are slick with no tread pattern. So really, if you tried to run as soft a compound as we have on the Champ cars here for Montreal on a Formula One tire, it would tear apart quite quickly and not hold up in the race.
Our thanks to Bridgestone Director of Motorsports Al Spire. Here's a nose-to-nose comparison of the open-wheel cars that run here at the circuit Villeneuve. Top speed, 240 miles an hour plus on the big oval super speedways for the Champ cars. 225 at places like the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, site of this year's United States Grand Prix coming up in September here on Speed Channel. More horsepower in the Formula One cars, less weight.
And that weight is actually not apples and apples. The 1322 for a Formula One car, I believe, is with driver, whereas that Champ car weight is without driver. So I believe it's 1565 and 1100. So the weight difference, 465 pounds, is responsible for almost all the difference in lap time.
Speaking of Formula One, we have a Formula One guest here this weekend. Calvin Fish has more on that.
Well, you're looking at Mika Salo, of course, ex-Grand Prix driver, once with Ferrari, most recently with Toyota Motorsports, and he last week tested for PK Racing. He co-drove the car with Max Pappas at Mid-Ohio. The test went very successfully, and there is a question mark next week at Denver as to who will be driving the car. Nothing has been said yet. The fact that he's remained here in the States, he's here this weekend, may be an indication that there may be a change on the way, but no confirmation of that as we speak.
Thanks, Calvin. And we also want to offer congratulations to young Fernando Alonso, who picked up his first career Grand Prix win. And you saw it here on Speed Channel at the Hungaroring near Budapest, Hungary this morning. Age 22. I understand you'd have to go to months and days, but he becomes the youngest Grand Prix winner in history, taking that title away from the late Bruce McLaren, who won the U.S. Grand Prix when it was held in Sebring, Florida. Alex Tagliani now enjoys a 5.7-second lead over Michel Jourdain. Let's get more on him with Derek.
Bob, Tagliani was told for the last 3 laps to try and save fuel. According to their history, they're not able to save fuel whatever style Tag has. So Paul Gentilozzi said, okay, go for it as fast as you like. They are now going to stop 2 laps earlier than the rest of the field, with Jourdain is planning to come in on lap 40 and Tag on lap 38.
What a day for Alex Tagliani. What a weekend for Tagliani. He and his beautiful wife Bronte have been celebrated all over town as the home favorites, along with Patrick Carpentier. He came out and took pole position, and now he leads by far his best race of the season for the young Rocket Sports team. This overhead view gives you a great idea of what a beautiful walking circuit this is. You can go from corner to corner and get very close to trackside.
And Fernandez got around Moreno on that first lap, at the end of the first lap after their stops. So Fernandez becomes the lead guy on that strategy now. Here's Tagliani. It's very important.
Oh, that's Rodolfo Levine. Tag got sideways on the brakes.
It's very important that he clears traffic quickly. With him having to stop early like that, that gap is precious. We saw he gave back every bit of the 4 seconds when he stopped a lap early last time. Now they're going to stop 2 laps early. It just gets worse from here. You extrapolate that out. If he can only go 19 laps, they'll make it. They'll barely make it on the same number of stops as everybody else, but the last stop will be a full 3 laps. And Levine is still taking it in deep.
We're being told from the corners that Levine was actually holding up Tagliani for some time. Tagliani had been shaking his fist at him. There you see it. He's asking officials to make him mind the blue move over flag. Maybe that's what Levine thought he was doing right here, but Tag got in there a little hot.
He used every bit of his skill to keep that thing together, because Levine, even though he's letting him by, still went to his break point. And so he's saying, hey, go by, but meanwhile, he's not slowing down. Looks like the door is being left open. Tagliani commits, and then he's like, that's all he can do to keep it on the road.
Into the chicane, using all of the curb and then some. Coming around to complete lap 36. We'll take a break and be back in Montreal in just a moment. Stay with us. To Montreal and the Champ Car Grand Prix of Montreal. Here's a look at some of the support racing action this weekend. Memo Rojas won the final round of the Barber Dodge Pro Series for 2003, leading home series champion Leonardo Maya. Colin Fleming finished third, and karting star Nelson Philippe in fourth. Round 10 with 2 to go in the Toyota Atlantic Championship. Top step with the kart driver development ladder. A.J. Allmendinger picked up his 6th victory of the season over Ryan Dial. And if the planets align themselves, Allmendinger, who has been an absolute sensation this year in the Atlantic Series, could lock up that championship next weekend in Denver. Down on Adrian Fernandez and Roberto Moreno in the hairpin. Fernandez drawing away slightly under acceleration. An awful lot of experience between these two drivers. More than 2 decades of service in the Champ Car Series together. Look at Moreno. Yeah. Gonna try the outside. Nope. There's the line where the track bends that TK was talking about earlier. Boy, Moreno really looks like the quicker car through there. Moreno's been starving for a good result this year. His first with the Ardèche competition team as a teammate to Mario Dominguez. This is for 11th place. Meanwhile, up front, we expect the race leader to pit, and Alex Tagliani is in the pit lane. Eric Daly awaits him.
Paul Gentilozzi said, fill him with gas, give him 4 tires, clean the windows, give him a book of stamps, and send him on his way. Good stop.
Long fill.
Okay, buddy, I need some good ones up here on these cold tires to see what you can do for me.
And with them having this much trouble going to the end of their window, there's no such thing as a short fill. They've got to make sure that the tank is full of methanol before they send them. Depending on the length of the window, sometimes you have some latitude, and that's a strategy option available to the teams. But here, you can't take that risk. There's just no margin.
Heard the team exhorting him, give me some fast laps on cold tires. That was Phil Howard, I believe. Still looking for that first career win. Back in 2001, the heartbreak came at Vancouver, where Tagliani dominated, leading laps 1 through 68 before the car let him down, and Roberto Moreno went on to win for the Patrick team.
And is Jourdain coming in? So
Jourdain has one more lap, Tommy, before he comes in, but just to turn the screws in as much as he can on Tagliani, he just set his fastest lap of the race.
Well, that's exactly, while they're telling we need your best laps, Alex, on cold tires, Ray Hall's team is telling Jourdain the exact same. You want to win this race, we need your best laps, and he's doing it.
A 120.665 last time around.
By comparison, Tagliani's last hot tire in lap was a 121.2. Serbia dipping down into the 120s as well, 120.8.
That steering wheel. Serbia has the most individualized steering wheel grip that I've seen up and down the pit lane. It's almost like a pistol grip on either side, like a joystick.
It's added extra material they add, and it's actually heated and molded, and then it cures.
Oh, there's some lock.
It might bumpy. I mean, it's great for controlling the car, and you actually don't have to hold the wheel as tightly, but it might come into play. He is nursing a sore wrist from that coming together with Bruno Junqueira. And you see how tightly his left thumb is jammed in there when the wheel just jerked out of your hands by an accident, especially there where he didn't know they were going to hit. Like
Jourdain and Serbia, the top 2 cars are in. One of the coin cars comes out. Let's go to Derek Daly.
And Jourdain just set his 2 fastest laps of the race right before he stopped here. There are no changes for Michel Jourdain. He just pulled off the tear-off to give himself a nice clear visor. The key is for this team, where is Tag on the racetrack?
Fractionally slower on the stop.
There's Tagliani in the blue car to the left of your screen. This is going to be close. And listen to the crowd.
So we saw it was about 4 seconds when he stopped 1 lap earlier. He gave away over 6 seconds by stopping 2 laps early. If the projections hold true and he stops 3 laps early next time, he'll need close to 8 seconds.
Calvin Fish has more on Oriol Servia, the other car that stopped.
Well, a good clean stop for the Visteon team. They did increase the front wing setting with 1 full turn there, so a little bit of understeer creeping into Oriol's balance right now, but they're very happy with the race car. They're very confident. They just need to stay close to Jourdain and see how the chips fall, Bob.
Favorite sayings in life is there's no free lunch, and right now they're not having to pay a consequence for not getting good enough mileage, the Rocket Sports team. But one factor that played into Tag's favor last time was, remember when he came out, both Moreno and Fernandez impeded everyone behind him. Now there are no cars between Jourdain and Tagliani, so it'll be interesting to see if he's able to build up as much or more of a cushion, which he'll actually need this time.
Traffic jam down in the hairpin. Looks like both of the Urdaz cars involved and one of the American Spirit machines. We had a quick look at Pat Patrick there, a very demanding team owner. It's been 3 straight DNFs for Oriol Servia coming into the weekend. Let's take another look at what happened in the hairpin. There is, that Fernandez getting sideways on braking. Moreno and Dominguez pull off an accordion number there with Fernandez. We'll have to see if there was damage, maybe some front wing end plates or something.
Little Mexican tag team on Moreno.
Wow. That was awkward. Whoa. One of them off and on. Is that Moreno?
Looks like it.
Looked like his helmet colors. Let's look at what happened on Mario Dominguez on board.
Okay, it wasn't on. I had it backwards.
Fernandez first, then Dominguez, who got it in the back from Moreno.
And there is no love lost between Adrian Fernandez and Mario Dominguez.
Bonk.
Little shot up the tailpipe.
These cars look so beautiful at speed, but rather like airplanes on taxiways. Going slowly, they can look a little awkward. Board with Dominguez, apparently none the worse for wear, and everything going just peachy for this guy, Alex Tagliani, looking for that first career win. We'll be back. Speed Channel coverage of the Champ Car Grand Prix of Montreal is being brought to you by Simple Green. Let Simple Green keep your world clean. Welcome back in the second half of the Grand Prix of Montreal. Bob Varsha, Tommy Kendall, Derek Daly, and Calvin Fish with you. Running in 5th place in the race, Paul Tracy started 8th, now 5th in his quest to win his 3rd straight race on Canadian soil. Let's review the previous victories. At Toronto, he simply dominated, taking pole position and then cruising to an easy win, as his mom Vivian promised he would. The King of Toronto, his hometown. Very emotional moment for a very private man. Then it was on to Vancouver. Bruno Junqueira jumped the start, but was later ordered to give up the position to Paul Tracy, who started from pole. He made good use of it, going on to take the win and doing a few donuts once again with Mom Vivian's blessings. 2 for 2 in Canada, looking for the trifecta this weekend here in Montreal. He's running in 5th with his teammate just ahead of him on the road. Let's get an update on Tracy with Derek Daly.
Well, Bob, today is not so rosy for Paul Tracy. On fresh tires, he can run almost as quick as the leaders, but halfway through the stint, it gets very slippery, and the car begins to lose a lot of pace. They've given him more front wing to give him more grip. But overall, Neil Mickelroy just told me they're not confident that this thing has the speed from halfway into the stint on.
Not good news for Tracy.
That news is offset by the news on the big picture, which is he would love to sweep the Canadian races, but him running in 5th with the trouble he's having and still putting more distance on Bruno Junqueira, all things considered, is a positive for team players.
Elsewhere, something interesting is happening. 2 cars, Thiago Montero with the Fittipaldi Dingman team and car number 11 of Jeff Boss from Dale Coyne Racing, are going to be penalized for going 1 extra lap. There's Bruno Junqueira sideways to the direction of traffic, and that's in the hairpin again.
He's obviously stalled it.
No sign of a full course caution from the flag stand yet. Race control's reporting the car is not running. So that will necessitate a yellow flag, I would think. If we get it, it'll be our 2nd of the day. Right now, simply a local. Here's another look at what happened. 2nd car in line. Whoa, that snapped on him. And now we have our 2nd full course yellow of the day. As I mentioned, those 2 cars will be penalized for going 1 lap beyond their mandatory pit window. Here on a day we thought many of these cars wouldn't be able to get 20. They actually went 21 laps. This has got to be agonizing for the Brazilian driver, Junqueira. We've talked about it earlier this year as the safety car heads out.
I would expect Fernandez, Moreno, Pappas, and Levine to all pit. The guys are on that other strategy, and this is actually good for those guys.
Finish my point. In his 3rd year in each of the major series he's run, Bruno Junqueira has won the championship. This is his 3rd year in Champ Cars. Last year he was 2nd to champion Cristiano D'Amata. This year he's with D'Amata's team. Right now he is struggling. Here comes Adrian Fernandez. Calvin Fish is there.
Adrian hits his mark and struggling with the balance this weekend. Just hasn't seen the grip level that they would have liked. Remember, a new engineer started at Mid-Ohio. Chris Finch taking over. And he's gone there. Good clean stop, and he beats Moreno out once again.
There's Moreno on the move. Stop for Ryan Hunter-Reay. Is back out. Comes Max Pappas and Hunter-Reay. Here's Thiago Montero. Here's a look at the standings if the race ended now, with Paul Tracy in 5th place and Bruno Junqueira out of the points. Tracy would have a 30-point lead as we head for Denver next weekend. Michel Jourdain would gain some ground, as would Patrick Carpentier, while Bourdais is out of the race and will fall down the championship ladder. We'll take a break and return with more from the Grand Prix of Montreal.
All healthcare companies say they care, but I need more than talk.
Pacific Air believes caring is good. Doing something is better.
From now on, there's gonna be a better way, a brand new day.
Of course, in healthcare, you have to care, but people expect deeds, not just words. That's what we deliver.
having an affair. She weighs over 1,000 pounds.
Back in 1984, the Champ Car Series visited the Saint-Air Superspeedway in Saint-Pie, Quebec, about an hour from downtown Montreal. That year, IndyCar legend Rick Mears had this savage accident that did devastating damage to his feet. Although he did go on to a glittering career, of course, in the sport. In 1985, a bizarre circumstance, late yellow flag. Yellow and white flags waved, but you notice the safety car pulling off. As far as Pancho Carter to the left of your screen was concerned, that meant the race was back onto the checkered flag, and he passed Johnny Rutherford to take an apparent victory. Supertex, of course, would have none of it. Johnny Caples, his team owner, future USAC president, was there to help argue the case, and eventually Lone Star JR was given the victory over Carter. Look at Saint-Air winners over the years. Danny Sullivan in '84, Johnny Rutherford in '85, as you just saw, Bobby Rahal in '86. And in the one previous race here at the circuit, Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal, Dario Franchitti came through in an exciting weekend to grab the win. Let's go to Derek Daly.
Paul. Okay, he wants to. He has actually spoken to Alex Tagliani for the last 2 laps. Extensive conversation. Paul, you know you just got out of jail here.
We were never in jail. We had a breakout plan no matter what.
Why is Alex using so much fuel?
Well, because he's racing and the other guys are driving.
Is he a left foot or a right foot breaker?
He's a left foot. I don't know what that matters.
Tell me about the horses.
Well, some horses you gallop, some horses you run. The minute you try to hold a runner back, something bad happens.
There you go.
You gotta love Paul Gentilosi's philosophy, and you saw him getting tapped on the shoulder. Apparently Alex Tagliani wants to talk it over a little further. He has now clinched the bonus point for laps led, adding to his championship total. He came into the weekend in 8th place. He could rise as high as 6th if all goes well today.
It's your start.
Down
And there goes Tag. He is on it.
Ariel Servia looking down around Michel Jourdain. J.D. Wilbur with the green. He waves it the moment he sees Alex Tagliani, and away we go.
And the facts don't fully support what Paul Gentiloni is saying. He makes it sound like those other guys are just cruising. Well, the lap times that Jourdain's running, that's clearly not the case. The fact of the matter is Alex Tagliani is using more fuel for some reason. Left foot braking, the reason that's important is some guys left foot brake, they actually overlap the brake and the gas both ways, coming off the brake and going back to the gas, which can use more fuel.
So the accelerator is fighting the brakes, basically. Oh, it's one of the coin cars there. That's Jeff Boss. Trying to get out of the way of faster traffic coming around. As they make their way up the backstretch here. Beautiful late summer sun beaming down to the circuit. Gilles Villeneuve, as you take a look back from Max Pappas's machine. Mario Haberfeld coming up on the right. That's Ryan Hunter-Reay in a big collision. 2-3 cars involved down in hairpin. That's Thiago Montero. That's Ryan Hunter-Reay.
I'm behind by Montero. I'm sitting in the hairpin again.
I can actually see you waving at us. You know, he's on a black flag on his way in as well, the flunker. All right. Turn everything off when they come and get you.
I assume they're talking about the black flag for Montero having gone 1 lap beyond the mandatory pit window.
They're saying how basically unnecessary that is. He's on his way in to serve a penalty.
Man, and he got him amidships.
Yeah.
Not sure Haberfeld wasn't involved in that too. Watch the left side of your screen. Oh man, he arrived at top speed, all locked up.
He would have ended up somewhere out here.
Yeah. Again from Pappas's car. That's Hunter-Reay behind. Haberfeld to the right. Here comes Montero. Pow. Big damage to the left front.
So Montero's already on the double secret when you're a lap down probation. So he might get the additional condition when you're serving your black flag penalty in lap probation.
Talk to him, Calvin. Okay.
Oh, boy. He has been very, very quick on occasion this weekend as his Champ Car learning curve remains fairly steep. There is the former series champion, Emerson Fittipaldi, his mentor, Calvin Fish.
Well, Emo's alongside Jamie Dingman. He'll try and get a chat here. Emo, you saw the pictures. What happened there? I know you were supposed to pit there because of a pit stop violation. You expect him to come in. What do you think of the move?
I don't know. I have to see again on the replay, but looks like Thiago locked the wheels and hit Hunter Ray and Mario.
Well, certainly there's a lot of consternation down here. Eric Bachelot came down. These two teams are associated, of course. The Conquest Racing team with Haberfeld and the Dingman Racing effort here. So they're not happy either. Their guy getting involved. And right now, Thiago's down here in the pit. We'll try and catch a quick word with him. Thiago, what happened? Was it just simply a mistake under braking?
Yeah, I was still on cold tires and I locked the rears. I didn't want to overtake or anything. I just wanted to brake and the rears locked and I just went through on Ray.
Were you experiencing any braking problems? I mean, this is a tough track for brakes.
No. Brakes were fine. I just cold tires.
Well, a disappointing race for this young man. He's been very impressive, qualified well after missing the first day of practice, and he's obviously disappointing, Bob.
I see Ryan Hunter-Ray, who's gotten underway, and I'm looking at the car. And he took a heck of a shot. Interesting to see what damage there is. Here's another look at the replay.
Watch coming in from here. Montero's in trouble, got the rears locked, which is why he had the extra speed, I believe is the explanation. It wasn't like he just broke 50 feet later than everybody else.
He gets Ryan Hunter-Ray squarely on the right rear wheel.
I think it was a combination of he probably went to his normal brake marker, but everybody in front of him had broken a little earlier. There's a pass going on a few spots in front of Hunter-Ray. I think there was a little bit of a chain reaction backup added to his rear lockup, and he had way too much speed.
Apparently Montero had already served his penalty. Let's go down to the Ray Hall Letterman pits and Derek Daly.
Let's get an update from the Higanti team with Ray Lato, team manager here. Ray, we've documented tags having to stop earlier. Can you boys take advantage of his fuel gulping situation, do you think?
Well, I think especially with the yellow, it's closed the gap up. So usually the guy that goes longer has an advantage because, we're out there doing fast laps while he's on cold tires. So, I think if we're within a couple of seconds, it's going to be pretty exciting on the pit exit when we go out. And also, you remember, there's a couple of guys that are 5 laps longer than us, so they're going to be kind of in that mix down there, too, kind of like the first pit stop where everybody came out together. So it'll be exciting. I know Michel's up to it, and he'll do his best.
Thanks, Ray. Well, that just means we have to wait and see what happens, boys.
Yeah, Paul was saying, the get out of jail, I'm not convinced that these yellows are going to give them the 3 laps extra distance they need to neutralize that. So even if it's only 1 lap, like Ray Lato says, that's all they're asking for, 1 more lap than Letterman.
And you saw that smile on Ray Lato's face. A guy like him just loves this sort of excitement. We'll be back. Welcome back to Montreal. You got a beef, something you want to talk about? Go to Dave Despain on Wind Tunnel, Monday through Thursday nights at 9 Eastern Time. Dial up 1-866-W-TUNNEL. Give Dave a piece of your mind. That's why he's there. Wind Tunnel, Monday through Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, only on Speed Channel. Still under our second full course day. As you may know, we like to listen in on the radios from time to time on the Champ Car World Series. Let's go back 2 weeks ago to Mid-Ohio for a sampling.
Okay, get up alongside 4 now. Green. Green flag. Green flag. Green flag. Green flag. Fuck, that guy fucked up there.
Give me a shot on the way out.
All right, let's go. That's how you're racing. Right there. On your left. Right there. Go on. All right, you got them all behind you. They're all behind you. You got Ryan between you and Bourdais. It's just you and PT. Let's go.
Across the line they come. First ever 1-2 finish for Players Foresight. And a 6th seasonal victory that puts Paul Tracy back into the championship lead. And back to real-time action here at the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Let me correct myself. This is the 3rd full-course caution of the day. And the cars are on their 7th yellow flag lap since Alex Tagliani last pitted for fuel.
So it's going to boil down to 2 things on whether or not Tagliani can win the biggest race of his life. Can he go to lap 60 like Jourdain can, or is he going to stop on 57, 58, 59? And how much of a gap can he build until then?
Well, TK, he can't go any further than 58 because he pitted on 38, so that stops the window right there. He has 6 laps to try and stretch a gap, but then he's going to have 2 laps where the others are on hot tires.
And a number of them, 2nd through 8th in the serial behind Alex Tagliani, will get those 2 laps Calvin just mentioned.
This is where you get a sinking feeling in your gut. Unless he can pull a rabbit out of his hat, Jourdain and he were running about the same speed. If he can't build a cushion of about 6 seconds, this race is going to slip through his fingertips.
Top of your screen, you see the lap that the individual driver must pit by. We are working lap number 53. Going way wide in turn 1. Bottling up a number of cars, among them 2nd in championship points, Bruno Junqueira.
Looks like there was a slight bobble by Tagliani.
So quiet down there in the hairpin. No gap to speak of for Alex Tagliani over Michel Jourdain and Oriol Servia. Checking the gaps at the line.
Don't forget Oriol Servia. He's also chasing his first career win. This is going to be chaos when these 2 come out of their stops on lap 60.
One man's chaos is another man's fun.
Tagliani is going to be behind them on the track, but with two-lap warmer tires.
In that running order, no career victories for Tagliani in 1st, 1 for Jourdain in 2nd, none for Servia in 3rd, 4 for Carpentier in 4th, and then Paul Tracy with 25.
What this very well could come down to is a real test for the stewards, because those guys, based on my calculations, I would say both Jourdain and Servia will be in front of Tagliani, but with cold tires, and Tagliani will be coming, and they're not allowed to anymore. So those guys will be slamming the door when they get to the corners, but they won't be able to weave to hold him back. They're going to have to get their tires up to temperature as quickly as possible to defend.
It's the view from Champions Wall. Here's a look at the max fuel window. Tagliani has that stop coming on lap 58. And then you see 4 of the 6 cars that will pit by lap 60. Now that gap seems to be drawing open just a little bit as Bronte looks on. man hard at work. Another day at the office at about 185 miles an hour or so. We'll be right back. There's a view from high above the circuit Gilles Villeneuve, the Olympic rowing basin at the bottom of your screen from the 1976 games, for which much of this island was developed, as well as the 67 Montreal World's Fair that took place before the Olympics. I'm Bob Marshall along with Tommy Kendall. Calvin Fish and Derek Daly are in the pit lane. A big crowd on hand. Great racetrack, great weather, and a great race. Alex Tagliani, looking for his first career victory, leads Michel Jourdain by a little under 1.2 seconds. About another half second back to Oriol Servia. Patrick Carpentier, Paul Tracy, Mario Dominguez, and Jimmy Vasser. Tagliani will pit within the next 3 laps.
This is going to be so close. Tagliani has built now 1.1 seconds. To come out totally clear, he probably needs 6 seconds, but he doesn't even need to be in front of him. He's within a second or two, and they're on the cold tires. There's a good chance of getting by. So this gap that he's building is absolutely essential.
He'll come back out on cold tires. He'll have 2 laps to get them up to temperature before those 6 cars who will pit behind him come back out. Paul Tracy still behind his teammate Patrick Carpentier. Are you a little surprised that the players team hasn't asked him to move aside for his teammate?
Not really, because even in this order, they're doing big time good for his championship.
Jim McGee has told the Patrick Racing team the race is right now. Since we got the green flag, that is the race for the win, he believes. Well, really, the question will be is whether Servia or Jourdain, when they pit, they'll only need 15 laps of fuel. They'll be going 20. If one of those teams decides to gamble a little bit, try and shave a second off their pit stop and jump ahead of the other guy.
You ride with Mario Dominguez.
Dominguez has driven a very aggressive, a little bit sometimes out of control race, but been making moves, and now he's starting to come up on the back of Paul Tracy. This is a bit of a dilemma for guys in the middle of the championship. You got Dominguez, who's just flat hungry for results, and you've got Paul, who doesn't want to give a spot away. But on the other hand, if Dominguez even shows his nose to the inside, you almost have to just say, go right on by. It's the last thing you want to do, but having the big picture in mind, it's probably the wise thing to do if he gets close.
Saw the view out the back of Paul Tracy's car. An emotional weekend for the Players Forsyth team. More than 40 years. Players brand of Imperial Tobacco, based here in Montreal, has supported young Canadian drivers, and the list goes on, including the likes of Jacques Villeneuve, as well as Tagliani, Carpentier, and Tracy. Due to new stringent tobacco laws banning advertising here in Canada from October 1st of this year, this will be the last race in that for Players here in Canada.
Pulled out 2/10 the lap before, another 3/10 that lap. The gap now 1.5 back to Michel Jourdain. And Tag is doing everything they could ask of him. Will it be enough?
See the Johnson Control team in the pit lane. That goes through the mind of a crewman when he knows, okay, spotlight is on us beginning in about 20 seconds. A lockup from Patrick Carpentier.
Okay, bring it down nice and steady. Just put it on the mark. You got a clear run again. Nice and steady, everybody all around.
Remember that fueling issue about the Rocket Sports team. Believe their fuel does not flow quite as quickly. Plus, they need to take on 2 more laps of fuel.
Like Michel Jourdain at Long Beach this year, when the car broke while he was in the race lead. This is the biggest stop of the 73 races in Alex Tagliani's career, Derek Daly.
And they know they have a problem. The second yellow was what did it for Paul Gentilozzi. That's what he said. Routine stop. But this is going to be hair and scarum time. Boys, 11.2. But hang on to your hollyhocks for lap 60.
most important laps of his race on hot tires. Tagliani driving his on cold. And he knows when they come out of the pits, he'll be on tires that are in. It'll be his chance to pounce while those guys are dealing with a car that's sliding around like it's on marbles. Paul Gilles said it yesterday in reference to qualifying. At this point, there's nothing the teams can do. It's all down to the drivers. This is why they get all the glory, they get all the money, and they also get all the blame.
I need some help with the back markers. I definitely need some help with the back markers.
All have to pit.
Planning ahead, starting to ask for
Next lap.
Now they're telling him all those back markers he's worried about are going to pit next lap. That's not exactly true.
Ray Lato alluded to this, that some of those guys are going to be right in the middle of this whole mix when those guys come out of the pits next lap.
Tommy, Ray Lato just told me they're only going to put 8 seconds worth of fuel into Jourdain's. That's going to increase Tagliani's problems.
That 1.6 seconds that he built before coming in is in his favor. It's all going to come to a head in about the second chicane on those guys' out lap.
Here comes Michel Jourdain, the race leader. Behind him, Oriol Servia and the players duo, Carpentier and Tracy. To Derek Daly.
Oh, this is good stuff here. If this is routine for Jourdain, we're going to have a real humdinger as this race goes. It looks routine so far. Calvin?
Good stop for Servia's team. Definitely a time stop there. We believe about the same. 8-9 seconds of fuel. He's back underway.
Left side of your screen, Tagliani.
It could well be that the players' cars figure into this.
Tagliani is further back. He's not the first car coming around.
He's going to have to get by the players' cars first.
Remember, he's only had 2 laps to get these Bridgestone Potenzas up to temperature. But what he's got is definitely hotter than what's on the cars ahead of him.
Looking very good for Michel Jourdain right now. Think Paul Tracy's going to pull over?
Oh! I was looking for Tracy out the right side.
Stay with it, pal. Stay with it. We're with you.
The crew is watching the same pictures you are. Roberto Moreno has taken over the race lead, followed by Adrian Fernandez and Max Pappas. They'll pit within 6 laps.
The air is going out of the balloon right now. In a race that's supposed to have no fuel considerations, that is all that stood between Alex Tagliani and his first victory.
Well, he's certainly shown the speed this weekend.
More trouble for Tagliani.
It's Dominguez behind him. That's Tagliani ahead of him. That's the spot where Olivier Panis had a leg-breaking accident in a Canadian Formula One Grand Prix not too many years ago. Dominguez's teammate Roberto Moreno is leading his first laps of the season. Here's Paul Gentilozzi. As he said in the late laps of final qualifying yesterday, it's in the hands of the drivers now. Gonna try it again. Oh, sir. It's a replay of what happened earlier. It was looking good for a second there. Let's have a look from Paul Tracy's onboard camera. Watch the right side of your screen.
I'll tell you what, and if Alex Tagliani had not spent so much time in a rear brake only go-kart, not that he kept it on the road, but just keeping that out of the tires is no small feat.
Tagliani's personal go-kart ride, I believe, has a 250cc Yamaha on the back of it.
It's got twin 125 road taxes, one on each side that are synced together.
Well, I knew there was a quarter of a liter in there somewhere. And that thing must be an absolute smoker. Paul Gentilossi looks on. His man has given it everything that he's got, but right now he is 8th with more pit stops coming. Stay with us.
Welcome back to the streets of Montreal. Well, almost the streets of Montreal. Paul, it's been a glorious weekend for the Johnson Controls team, but it's not going to happen.
Well, we don't know. Right now, we're going to finish the race in 4th or 5th place, but a lot of stuff can happen. The race ain't over. We have a caution. We got a guy who can race.
Paul, when you look back, are you disappointed the way the race fell? Would you have changed your mind earlier in this race, or would you just let this horse run like you did?
Well, we learn every time we come here, and we may have raced a little soon, but that's what we had to do. We had a driver who wasn't going to save fuel for us. He wanted to race. We got to go with that.
There you have it.
I would imagine as a racing driver, you got to love driving for a guy like Paul Gentilossi. There's a replay of the move Alex Tagliani threw on fellow Canadian Paul Tracy not long ago. Look at that reaction.
That is a save.
Aims it right for the racetrack. Paul Tracy got back around him. Watch this. See how close this is. Next time by, there'll be 10 laps to go in the race. Roberto Moreno, Adrian Fernandez, and Max Pappas in P1, 2, and 3 will all pit within the next 2 laps. And Michel Jourdain will take over the race lead.
While all this is going on, Oriol Servia has turned up the heat on Michel Jourdain. Only 7 tenths behind now, running a couple tenths a lap quicker.
Now let's see what's going on in the Rahal camp with Derek Daly.
Ray Lato here. Ray, when you run a race like this, what causes a driver to not be able to utilize fuel as well as Jourdain seemed to? Is it a downforce issue? Is it a driver style issue?
Well, I think, Derek, it's a little bit of both, and it's also leading the race, too, and not having a draft. You know, Tag led the first 20 laps, and unfortunately, you know, he couldn't go. We could draft. The guys we were behind, Oriol and those guys, and save fuel where we could to make sure we made that 20-lap interval. And then, you know, that pays for the rest of the race with the pit stop interval.
Wow, drafting, so it could be added into the mix here as what changed the face of this race.
Thanks, Derek. Like Adrian Fernandez got right out to the champion's wall there, and behind him, Max Pappas. Spoke earlier about Mika Salo being here this weekend. Calvin Fish told you the former Grand Prix driver tested very well. In fact, we hear that car arrived here in Montreal with Salo's name still on the driver cockpit surround, which did not go down well at all with this man, Mad Max, one of the most popular drivers in any form of motorsport here in North America. And speaking of most popular drivers, you can play a role in selecting the MCI Most Popular Champ Car Driver of 2003. Just go to cart.com, and one lucky voter will win a trip to the season-ending banquet to present the MCI Most Popular Driver Award to its recipient. Last year was Paul Tracy. You can help determine who it is in 2003. Checking what happened to him just a few moments ago. We expect an off and on. Same place Tagliani did. That may have been a case of ambitious braking. Roberto Moreno is in. Calvin.
Well, this should be a real quick stop here. Remember, they've only got 9 laps to go, so they should pull the fuel, which they do, but there's a slight problem at the back of the car as Fernandez comes into his box. That was tight.
Yeah, that was a problem for Fernandez. Fernandez. Moreno coming out just as Fernandez was coming in. And that will cost Fernandez a few extra tenths on the stop. Dominguez comes back out in front of Tagliani. Excuse me, Moreno back out in front of Tagliani. Tagliani quickly puts that to rights. Here comes Moreno's teammate calling.
Now, one more thing that can contribute to the mileage issue on Tagliani's car. I talked to Paul Gentilozzi last night, and I believe they're the only car running the road course underwing. And they felt that contributed to their pole. He felt that theoretically, if you can run the oval underwing lower, it generates more downforce. According to the Rocket Sports calculations, at the ride height you have to run the cars here, at least the ride height they run here, they figured that the road course underwing gave them 400 pounds more downforce. Again, there's no free lunch. More downforce means more drag.
Fellas, Brent Maurer from Team Rahal just walked down to Junqueira's team and asked for help. That if Michel catches Junqueira, to please move over as quickly as possible.
Now only 0.5 of a second from Serbia to Jourdain.
8 laps to go. There's Pat Patrick looking on.
And these two are being caught from behind by Patrick Carpentier, who's only 2.1 seconds back, but running 4 to 5 tenths quicker than the lead duo. I think we saw this in the F1 race, where all the guys caught up and it was nose to tail, but once they got to a certain point, it kind of stabilized. These high downforce aerodynamic cars, catching and passing, are often two different things.
Our erstwhile colleague Scott Pruitt can tell you that the expectations are very high at Patrick Racing. Coming off 3 straight DNFs, the heat is definitely on Oriol Servia. He has responded this weekend. The same was the case earlier this year when we went to the Milwaukee. Jim McGee there looking on. Let's go to Calvin Fish.
Well, Jim's looking at the stopwatch right now, looking for the split. Jim, he's really starting to put the pressure on. Can the boy bring it home today for you?
Well, you know, we got a quick car. It's just a matter of track position, and we kind of lost a little on that first stop on cold tires, but you know, I think if we could catch somebody in traffic, you know, if you could get Jourdain in traffic, you might be able to get him. But he's fast. But I think, you know, the Visteon car's been quick all weekend. Hopefully, Oriol can catch him making a mistake and we can get him. But it's going to be close.
What's Oriol's psyche looking for this first Champ Car win? Is he feeling the pressure?
Oh, yeah, we put a lot of pressure on him, and he's responding. But, you know, this would be nice to get one under his belt, but he's doing a good job.
Okay, it's going to be tight as these laps dwindle down.
He's talking about the Milwaukee Mile earlier this year. The heat was on. Servia came up with a second-place finish, helped, of course, by Paul Tracy losing a wheel in the late stages. Nevertheless, he did bring it home on the podium. He may do it again today. Welcome back. Bob Barsha, Tommy Kendall, Calvin Fish, and Derek Daly with you for round 14 of the Bridgestone Presents the Champ Car World Series powered by Ford, second annual Grand Prix of Montreal. Ride with Oriol Servia in second place. That's race leader Michel Jourdain Jr. up the road. We now have 6 laps to go.
Look at Carpentier.
Up from third, getting racy with second place Servia. Meanwhile, Bruno Junqueira is running 14th, and he is, I'm guessing, about 3 seconds up the road ahead of the race leader. As mentioned earlier, Michel Jourdain's team was asking for some help from Junqueira when their man approached to lap him.
Remember, Tag's not the only French Canadian in this race, and Carpentier is absolutely flying. A half a second quicker than Jourdain, almost 8 tenths quicker than Servia that last lap. Been complaining about trouble with the gearbox, and it's given him some trouble, but doesn't seem to be slowing him down at this point.
He actually shut the car down during the morning warm-up, saying that something mechanical was wrong with it. A little lock-up of the right front Bridgestone there. In fact, the 3 Canadians in the field, Carpentier, Tracy, and Tagliani. That's right. 21-0, that last lap. The 3 Canadians are running nose to tail in third, fourth, and fifth.
This unglued if Carpentier can get up in the second spot and challenge for the win.
And he is visibly catching. 5 to go, and he is visibly catching Serbia in second. Listen to the crowd. Are out of the race. Sebastian Bourdais, Thiago Montero, and Ryan Hunter-Reay. Alex Tagliani started from pole. He runs 5th.
Jourdain has picked up the pace. He now is running about the same pace as Carpentier, but Serbia is sliding back. Patrick's wife, Anique.
There'll be 4 laps to go next time under the flag stand. There are the top 3 cars in your picture.
Last night at the players' dinner at the track, Patrick Carpentier treated all the players' guests to a little drum solo, impromptu drum solo.
4 to go.
Did you shower him with loonies and toonies?
I keep thinking those things are quarters and leave them in my hotel room.
$1 and $2 coins. Oh man, what a corner. Steering with one hand while you're grabbing for the gear shift lever. With your foot buried.
Just over 3 laps to go.
Paul Tracy is about 4 seconds behind this battle. There's Tracy. 4th spot. Pretty good score today. Of the 2 men chasing him in the championship, Junqueira and Jourdain. Only Jourdain has been able to do what he needed to do.
A little bit of rear brake, please.
And that is get in front of Tracy. Junqueira is out of the points in 14th. Jourdain is leading. The Senna complex willing their men on, trying to get Carpentier up onto turns with Serbia as you ride with Tracy.
Look at these onboards. Look at how busy they are. Now pretend you're Paul Tracy trying to get to that blue button to take a drink, or trying to get your left hand off the wheel to make a brake bias adjustment. So your hand's always on the shifter. Watch this. Probably grab a drink right there.
Boy, 75 laps of this is hard work. 42 gear shifts per lap. 2G loadings. Jimmy Vasser heads for the pit lane from 13th. He too out of the points. Calvin, what do we know?
Well, we heard he was having some gearbox issues a little bit earlier. Stefan's down here. Stefan, what is the problem with the car, mate?
Well, he lost 4th gear to begin with. He just went one after another, went. He's just searching for gears. I don't think he's got anything left in there now. Maybe 1 gear.
Tough day for him. 200 star here. You're expecting great things. The rain was looking pretty strong beginning of the weekend. It just didn't click for you today.
It wasn't our day today, unfortunately. Ryan had a bad day too. Just have to regroup here for Denver next week. Hopefully we'll have better luck there.
All right, mate. Well, they're going to struggle a bit there with the bumps of Denver. Very hard for these Reynard chassis, but we understand a lot of grinding has been done there to try and make that surface a bit smoother for the boys next weekend, Bobby.
That was the key issue last year. Was bumps and grip. White flag next time by. You saw the gap right there between Serbia and Carpentier, basically nil. Jourdain drawing away lead just a little bit, looking for his second career victory. The quiet young driver from Mexico has been saying over the last few races, Tracy can be beaten, Tracy can be beaten. And today he may have proven it. What a disappointment for this man, Alex Tagliani. As we head for the white flag, let's get a word from Jimmy Vasser with Calvin Fish.
Oh, I try to get around here and nip around. Jimmy talking to the team manager, Graham Taylor. Jimmy, tough day for you, mate. Celebrating your 200th start. How was the car? What put you out?
The car was reasonable, and then the gearbox was sticky on the down changes early, and then it just deteriorated real quick at the end, and didn't really have anything in the box. Who's winning this thing?
Well, you got Jourdain up front, PT fourth, I believe.
Good. I'm happy for Michelle. Too bad for what happened to tags.
Just got held up with the fuel strategy, but he had a strong run today. Let's go back up top, looking for that checkered flag, Bob.
Thank you, Calvin. The battle continues between Serbia and Carpentier, but it appears there will be no Canadian victor here on the circuit Gilles Villeneuve again in 2003. Less than half a lap to go as Michel Jourdain looks for his second career win and second of the season. His first ever on a road course, however, and the 16th win for Team Rahal. Ooh, Tagliani and Tracy. That for fourth place. I understand Tracy may be tight on fuel, which would explain the big gap up to Carpentier in third. But at this point, one corner remains for Michel Jourdain as he brings it onto the straightaway. And the Gigante driver is truly giant today in Montreal. Tracy is out of fuel. Tagliani will take fourth. Here comes Dominguez to take away fifth.
Unbelievable.
Exactly, Paul. It appears Tracy will hang on to sixth, about a car length ahead of Roberto Moreno in seventh. What a finish to a day full of dramatic twists and turns here in Montreal. Tracy is parked just past start finish, dry of methanol, while Michel Jourdain continues his victory lap. We'll be back to hear from him.
Well, Paul, threw the steering wheel down and discussed. Paul, I know it's a tough race for you. You're disappointed right now, but what about the big picture?
It'd be nice for my team to tell me that we got a fuel problem, you know? Like, the last lap, they say, oh, save fuel. I'm out of fuel, you know?
Well, there you see it. You hear the words. I mean, the championship lead increases, but he's a competitor. He wanted a strong run today. Last race for players here in Canada. The disappointment is evident.
Well, we keep looking for those big picture signs from Paul Tracy, but once again, he proves what he's looking for is race wins. Here's a look at the top 10. Michel Jourdain picks up his second career victory. Oriol Servia matches his best ever in second place, and Patrick Carpentier picks up his first podium in Canada since he finished second in Vancouver back in 1999. Pole sitter Alex Tagliani finishes fourth. Let's go to Derek Daly.
Well, as you can see, the celebration is going on here. Michel, I love to see you guys celebrate. What a race that changed, but you guys stuck to your strategy, and it all played out correct in the end.
Yes, I mean, we needed to save fuel, and I feel bad for Alex because he was by far the fastest. You know, he was so fast, but we knew we couldn't keep his pace, so the only way we could win was saving fuel, and we managed to do it. This is for my dad. It's his birthday tomorrow, Pat. Te quiero mucho, felicidades. Un saludo a todos en México.
Thank you, Michel. And of course, team owner Bobby Rahal is not here. He is in Oklahoma City with his son Graham this weekend.
Racing a go-kart, that's correct. And if I'm not mistaken, this is Jourdain's second victory. His dad hasn't been here for either one, so they may have to have some kind of family protocol that all the good wishes have to be for the top of the podium to his dad back in Mexico. A big win for Michel Jourdain. Let's take a look at the championship. Paul Tracy is bitterly disappointed at finishing sixth, but he picks up 8 points on Bruno Junqueira in the title chase. Now more than a full race worth of points separating Tracy from Junqueira. Big step up for Michel Jourdain, obviously, now just 35 points behind. Let's hear from Oriol Servia now with Calvin Fish.
Well, a tremendous run for Oriol here today in the Visteon car, equaling your career best. Talk about the race, Oriol.
Yeah, I'm actually quite happy for all the Visteon here. I hope Dave Munoz enjoyed the race from home, couldn't be here today. And it was just good, you know, we were up there, and I think the Visteon car deserved to be in the podium, but I'm not happy. I feel like the first loser today, because I think we had a car to go for the win, but I just, you know, on that cold tires, Michel was behind me. With the new rule, I knew I couldn't block, and I just brake as late as I could, but he still got me, so there's not much I could do after that. I tried to push, but, you know, he was better. I feel like the first loser, but also the closest to the win, so hopefully next weekend we can get it.
Well, you should be very proud of the result, Oriol. How much pressure is on you now, though, to get that first champ car win? You talk about that critical lap on cold tires, but you're close. You're knocking on the door now.
Well, it's not pressure. It's just that we really want to win that one, you know, and fortunately we're getting closer. We're still a few races, a couple good races for me, so I'm just hoping we're going to get more than one, actually.
All right, mate. Best of luck. Bob?
A good run, equaling his career best for Oriol Servia. We'll take a break, and when we come back, perhaps we'll hear from Patrick Carpentier as we continue post-race coverage here in Montreal. The long run for the Players brand of Imperial Tobacco goes back to 1961, when Sir Sterling Moss won a sports car race at Mosport Park. Jacques Villeneuve gave the brand a kart championship and a win in the Indy 500 before moving on to Formula One. Of course, this year, it's Paul Tracy and Patrick Carpentier who have racked up a number of wins and an awful lot of goodwill on the way. But now, it's time for Players to depart the scene. As a tobacco company under strict new Canadian laws, here's Patrick Carpentier reliving his day with his team. Derek Daly is there.
Patrick, you may well have been the most popular driver here this weekend, a Montrealer, and you gave it a great run towards the end, but just a tiny bit short.
Yeah, I was enjoying it. I didn't care to get third place or nothing, but I want to get this guy in second place, and I was just pushing hard. I was hoping he was going to make a mistake, and I want to get second. I enjoyed it. You know what? I didn't win, but today I just had fun. I gave the guys a good show and just had a good time. Oriol, next time, you won't get it so easy.
Hey, Patrick, what made the difference between not being able to quite catch Jourdain? Was it track position? Was it qualifying? Was it the trouble you had on Friday?
Yeah, all the trouble we had over the weekend. We started towards the back, and we always had a couple of bad markers during the race, but my car had a few brake problems. Everybody did. I think Paul was the same thing. Every time I was stopping in the pits, they would get really hot, and for 5 laps I had to be careful, but at the end, man, the car was perfect. I think I had the fastest car, but I was trying, but it's fun.
Thank you, Patrick. Well, the tears in the pit lane may well be down with Calvin Fish. Calvin?
Well, Alex Tagliani is down here, Derek, and Tag, you had such a great race today. The strategy, using up a little bit more fuel, really bit you there with that yellow flag around lap 50.
Well, I mean, at the beginning I was trying to just look at where Oriol was and save as much fuel as I can, and I was doing a good job, and the fuel was okay. But then, you know, as soon as I knew that I could pull away so easily, you know, I said I'm gonna go for it. So they said go. So I start pulling away, and 5.5 second lead on the first stop, and same on the second with Jourdain, and same on the third. So everything was looking pretty good, and especially because Montreal, the engineer said, you know, there's not a lot of yellow. It's not a street course, but the last 2 yellows just destroyed our day.
Well, you have to feel good about the performance of this team all season long to come this close to your home track.
I mean, it's the place to do it, I guess. You know, I mean, hopefully the fans enjoyed the show today, and they didn't came for nothing, but unfortunately, we came here and we had the car to win. It didn't happen, but I guess it was not our day yet.
Tommy Kendall talked about the car control you displayed when you went underneath PT there over in 8 and 9. That was superb.
Yeah, I mean, Paul was on cold tire. He's very quick on cold tire, so I knew I had to push really hard to be able to make a move on him. And I went in, and there's a big bump underneath the La Concorde bridge, and the rear stepped out, and I had to go straight. But then I started catching him very, very quickly. I could see he was locking, and then unfortunately for him, he ran out of fuel, and we got fourth. But we were here for the win.
All right, great job today, mate.
Thanks.
Good run indeed for Alex Tagliani. 3 yellow flags in all for a total of 9 laps and 7 lead changes among 4 drivers on the day. In the points, 8 drivers remain mathematically alive for the championship. Darren Manning and Mario Dominguez were eliminated today. We'll take a break. Lots more to come here from the circuit Villeneuve in Montreal. Stay with us. Welcome back to Montreal. A good time to look ahead to the next stop of the Champ Car World Series. On the streets of Denver, Colorado, the Mile High City will have live coverage of qualifying at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time next Saturday, followed by race coverage at 9 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, only here on Speed Channel. Let's hear from a few more drivers. After today's race, there's Mario Dominguez, and Derek Daly is there.
Mario Dominguez, who had a great day, but he has been summoned to the steward's office within the next 30 minutes. He's got to talk to us first. You fought with everybody. That was a great day for you, with the 5th fastest race lap also.
That's right. We fought hard. We just drove as hard as we could. We tried to go to the front, and we had the car to do it. You know, the hardest team gave me the car today, and I had to take advantage of what I had.
Do you know why you've been summoned to the principal's office?
I have no idea, but we'll see. I guess I'm becoming one of those bad boys now. I always get summoned over there these days. I'm used to it.
You were in quite a battle with Sébastien Bourdais. Tell us how that went.
Well, that was very exciting, because what happens is the rule is, you know, if you go underneath but you don't actually cross the chicane and you overshoot it, then you have to let him by, which happened to me like 3 times. So I actually, you know, I had to let him by every time. And it was pretty good. Finally, I got inside of him, and I managed to go underneath him, and he overshot it. But he still kept going. It took a while to let me by. I guess he was waiting for people to tell him that on the radio. But it was a lot of fun fighting with him. And then another big moment there with Adrian. He went on to pass me, and I was going to go on the inside, and then somebody came in the back of me and hit me, and it was just a big mess. But we came out of it okay.
Nice to see a smile on your face, Mario. Thank you. And now with his teammate is Calvin.
Well, Roberto, you won there 20 years ago, mate, in an Atlantic car. Can you remember that, Farland?
Indeed, it's still the same racetrack. It took me a little while to understand how to set the car up here, but the team did a great job. Chris gave me a great car, and today was teamwork. We did a different strategy from the leaders. We got a little stuck behind the back the guys at the back initially. But on my 3rd pit stop, it paid off when I was able to lead the race and put some good lap times down. I banged my elbow in the car hitting a curb, and it was very painful at the beginning. So I had a bit of a problem to forget about that. But once I forgot, I just got down to business. And again, another great day for the head-ass competition team. Unfortunately, at the end, we almost got pole when he ran out of fuel, but it was not. Next time, and I take 7th. Very, very happy.
Great job, Roberto. Bob, funny how that pain goes away when you're in the lead.
No question about that. Maybe the stewards are just Mexican food fans, and they're looking for some free Herdez products.
You think so?
Michel Jourdain and engineer Ray Lato on the top of the podium. Back in 1575, Jacques Cartier mapped this area, and today, Michel Jourdain conquered Montreal. Time for his national anthem. Congratulations to Michel Jourdain Jr. on his 2nd career Champ Car victory. We'll take a break and be back to the circuit Villeneuve in Montreal. Speed Channel coverage of the Champ Car Grand Prix of Montreal has been brought to you by Bridgestone Tires, advanced technology that gives you a grip on the future. And by Ford. If you haven't looked at Ford lately, look again. Welcome back to Montreal. It's time for the champagne spray. Michel Jourdain Jr. is getting pretty good at it. While the celebrations continue on the podium with Patrick Carpentier, the lone Canadian up there, moving up to 4th in the championship. Let's get our final thoughts, beginning in the pit lane with Derek Daly.
Well, Bob, what might have been. Instead of being on the podium shaking champagne, Alex Tagliani commiserates with Bronte. We said at the top of the show, since 1978, when Gilles Villeneuve won the Grand Prix, no Canadians won the marquee event here. We thought it might happen today. It just shows you what motor racing is like. It just yanks an emotional roller coaster out from under people, and you never know what's going to happen. Calvin?
Derek, at the top of the show, we talked about Paul Tracy potentially slipping up today and falling out of the points. He didn't do that. He finished 6th, which is okay. We know he's disappointed, but think about Bruno Junqueira. This was the day he needed to capitalize in the points. He didn't make it happen. The 2 slip-ups in the hairpin cost him dearly. Michel Jourdain, certainly the victory goes a long way to keeping him in this championship hunt, Bob.
8 drivers remain alive for the championship. This one is a long way from decided. As you take a look at the unofficial results, Tommy Kendall, your final thoughts.
My jaw is just coming off the floor where Alex Tagliani, it sounded like he said we were okay on fuel and he called an audible and decided to run hard. And I mean, that being said, he has no one to blame but himself. But earlier in the show, I said this never should have been a fuel economy run. It's not supposed to be. That's what the fuel windows are about. It's a shame that kept him from his first win on home soil.
Next up, Denver, Colorado. Last year, it was an all skate. Let's see what that track will offer up in the way of grip this year. So be sure to join us next weekend, not only for the Champ Cars, but for the Toyota Atlantic Championship and the Trans Am Series as well. Thanks for joining us here at the Champ Car Grand Prix of Montreal. We've got a party to go to. So for Tommy Kendall, Derek Daly, and Calvin Fish, I'm Bob Barsha. So long, or perhaps I should say adieu from Montreal.